Welcome to YellBro. I am Jordan, and today we're gonna watch a little video from the Grayzone, starring this Jordan Goudreau, Goudreau, whatever you see it, Jordan something. One of the, I believe, Green Berets that attempted to coup Venezuela and regime change it. But first, don't forget to share support. Hopefully, donate to all the links in the description box. Check them out, read them, share them, then donate. All of it is very much appreciated. Also, please check out the Discord link. If you want to join that, I am in that Discord right now, recording this video. Hey, maybe you get famous, you know? All opinions are welcome. Also, everything I show you will be linked in the description box as usual. So please, if you don't want to hear me talking over the video or pausing the video and talking, go watch that instead. Like, just trying to be fair. All links, description box. All right. As usual, before we get started with the main video, I just want to go over some things that exist in the world. Like this. We're now up to, apparently, 23 Palestinians killed. Many of them confirmed as civilians since this so-called ceasefire. And as I was saying before in another video, when sometimes these guys are like trying to like look through rubble or look to see if their house is still standing, they may stray out of certain zones that are supposed to be in because they're apparently not humans, so we have to treat them like that, apparently. And when you stray from these zones, you get shot at. And a lot of them die, obviously. So, yeah, it doesn't look much like Palestinian freedom at all. It still looks like subjugation, but in smaller pockets. And, you know, what's the saying? You give a mouse a cookie or some shit like that? Yeah. It could be 2, 3 killed a day, you know, going on, and boom, all of a sudden it's 10. Then it's 50, then it's 100, and then we're in full-scale genocide again. I mean, this is a continuation of the already existing genocide, by the way. Like, it didn't just stop and now we're starting over brand new. Count these 23 with the rest of the thousands, you know, probably hundreds of thousands of people killed in this conflict. Whether by bullet, disease, fire, bombs, shelling, starvation, disease, you know, like lack of access to hospitals. Just add it to the total if we're going to be honest about things. But hey, maybe things turn around, like actually turn around for real. I hope so, but this is not a good sign. When these things can happen with impunity, it doesn't look good at all. Let's continue on here. As you can see here, and I wanted to tie this to the Venezuelan thing because I keep seeing more and more and more and more stories like this where, once again, they do racial profiling and they're like, "Hey, man, are you American? Are you? Huh?" And then they find out they are, and they just release them and try to basically ignore the story like it didn't happen in the first place. And this has happened a lot of times from what I've seen. I think there's like accounts like dedicated, straight up dedicated to showing when American citizens get guns pointed in their face. Hey, are you legal? Are you legal? Now, to all the and once again, I'm not the guy that screams race about everything, but at the same time, you got to be honest about the situation. To all the white people that don't see this, you know, in their neighborhoods, or they don't get pulled over, they don't get, you know, detained by ICE while walking down the street or something, or for recording with your phone or something like that. For all the people that don't experience that, need to open your fucking eyes. It's like blatant racial profiling. Blatant. But there's plenty of people that will accept it because it's not happening to them until it does. They don't even realize the precedent that's being set. As soon as they can just grab you off the street, American or not, just grab you off the street, put you in handcuffs without charge, and throw you in a fucking cell for however long, so someone can prove who you are, I guess. Like, it's going to reach you at some point. And guess what? Trump is not king emperor forever. And even if they did make him that, guess what? He dies someday. So thus someone else will take over at some point, and he's setting a precedent that could be abused. I mean, it is being abused by him and his administration and Mr. $50,000 Tom Homan. Well, let's say it's Harris instead, or Buttigieg as president. Like, all right, you're going to put military in Democratic states? Well, watch this. We're going to put military in Republican states. And now everyone's subjugated by military forces on their fucking streets, policing them when they're supposed to work for them, not against them. Right? Then again, who am I? I'm just some guy. Let's keep going. As you can see here, a headline, Trinidadian family says U.S. military killed relative in boat attack. For the first time, one of the 27 people killed in U.S. airstrikes on suspected drug vessels has been publicly identified. Like, wait, you're telling me they weren't, but weren't they like, these are known drug dealers, right? It's narco terrorists, aren't they? So like, I don't, shouldn't we already have their names? It should be like in fucking prison photos or something. Shouldn't that be like Uber, like shown 10 million times across the TV to justify what you're doing, right? You'd show everyone and say, hey, look, they're drug dealers. See, we caught them. You'd profile them on TV and all that shit, wouldn't you? I guess not. Killing narco terrorists isn't controversial. Of course, the idiots come out of nowhere. And once again, these guys do these things, living their comfortable little lives until it happens to them. Then you're going to hear them moan and fucking cry. Like, wait a minute. You know, like, if I tie these stories together, once again, if I just deem them narco terrorists without identifying who the people are, it could be Americans that get blown up. Remember that thing I said about precedent? Well, Obama killed an American citizen overseas and his kid. Then Trump came in and killed an American overseas. That same person's other child, a little girl. So, and no one got in trouble for it. You know what I'm saying? No one got in trouble for that. Meaning it's okay to do by the government standards, it's okay to do. I don't hear AOC saying a fucking thing about it. I don't see Bernie Sanders saying a fucking thing about it. Even though Bernie supported the kill list from Obama. But those guys could have scraped the party fucking clean if they wanted to, because there's so much information that can be attributed to the Democratic Party and the government overall. But let's say in particular the Democratic Party. There's a lot of stories you can go over that will be blatantly incriminating. But they don't do it. Why? Because they protect them. That's their fucking job. To give you hope and protect them while they're doing it. And anyone saying like that's unfair, I mean, hey, maybe hopefully they change or they do something different. But I haven't seen it yet. Until then, I gotta be on their asses. Pause. You gotta. Otherwise, they're gonna sneak shit in through the side door like they keep doing repeatedly throughout history, over and over and over again. And a lot of people turn their brains off with these things. You can't do it, guys. You have to keep your fucking foot on the pedal. And then another like story here. This guy, who apparently is not even that like he hasn't had this job for a long time. And he's already leaving, apparently. They wanted regime change in Venezuela, but they got it in Southcom. Admiral Halsey had raised concerns about the mission and the attacks on the alleged drug boats. There were real policy tensions concerning Venezuela between the admiral and his civilian boss, P. Hegseth. So this guy, who's the admiral running things down there with Venezuela, is like, you know what? This is bullshit. I don't want my face on the cover of New York Times for the guy who committed crimes. Right? I don't want to have I tortured some folks, and I don't want my picture there. So I assume that's why he's stepping down. and it makes sense. Hopefully, he comes out and does some whistleblowing about it. But, you know, these guys might try to protect themselves instead because these are blatant crimes being committed. Blatant. Which brings us to the main story. Now, I heard about this thing during the first Trump administration, when these random Green Berets got captured trying to infiltrate Venezuela to try to coup it, basically. And there was like weird backing. Like the government found a way, and the CIA found a way to try to do it without having their hands on the books, if you will. We had companies that had interest in the resources of Venezuela, aka private corporations like Kraft. That's right, Kraft mac and cheese. Those motherfuckers. Believe it or not. At least that's the story I heard. The Kraft family or whatever were funding groups and funding people and ex-Green Berets and all that shit to go in there and overthrow the fucking country because they want a piece of the cake. They want a slice. The government wants a slice. The CIA wants a slice. Private companies want a slice. Private individuals want a slice. Weirdos that are from Venezuela or living in Venezuela, or whatever the fuck, that want to overthrow the government, they want their slice. And they team up like gangsters and create a plan. Move some money around, get some personnel, and try to overthrow the fucking country. Not for the sake of freedom and fighting communism, but for their own greedy fucking reasons. And devil worshipping reasons. Let's just be honest. But hopefully, with the stuff I've heard about, hopefully I learn even more through this interview because this guy's name was definitely brought up as a former, I remember this name as being a former Green Beret that played somewhat of a leadership role, I believe, in the coup attempt. But I don't know, man. Hopefully this video refreshes me on the information and I learned some new stuff. That will be interesting. So without further ado, we're ready for a marathon here. From the Grayzone, and I believe Max Blumenthal is the one interviewing this guy. Jordan Goudreau exposes U.S. government role in disastrous Venezuela coup plot. Here we go.
Welcome to the Grayzone. It's Max Blumenthal. Earlier today, I spoke to former U.S. Green Beret and mercenary Jordan Goudreau, who led the failed Operation Gideon plot to invade Venezuela in 2020 by sea and topple the government of Nicolas Maduro. It was a famously bungled operation that is mockingly referred to as the Bay of Piglets. And if you've been following our coverage at the Grayzone for the past few years, especially our coverage of Venezuela, then you're very well familiar with the details of it. Jordan Goudreau is treated as almost a laughing stock in U.S. media. But as I've recently learned, there's a lot more to the story. Goudreau is currently facing federal arms trafficking charges for transferring arms over the Colombian border. And he's now come forward to tell me in the Grayzone his side of the story. He's provided us with extremely valuable court documents and FBI files containing details of those who were involved in the covert 2020 Operation Gideon plot to topple the government of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. These documents provide details of the Venezuelan coup plan that the public has never seen before. They include FBI interviews with participants, which demonstrate foreknowledge, or at least suggest foreknowledge of the plot by Trump associates, leaders of the government of Colombia, CIA assets, and officials working directly under Vice President Mike Pence and Donald Trump, and strongly suggest their support for it. And in this interview, Goudreau names these officials and also details potential CIA support for the plot. Jordan Goudreau, former Green Beret and the face of Operation Gideon, which began as Operation Edgemont. Welcome to the Grayzone.
Thanks, Max. Appreciate it.
Jordan, you currently face arms
Dustin
trafficking
Poirier.
charges from the US government stemming from your involvement in Operation Gideon, which was this high profile attempted coup in Venezuela that's colloquially referred to as the Bay of Piglets. It was sort of a mercenary operation gone wrong, at least on the face of it. But as a result of your trial, you have gained access to documents that the public has never seen before that you say demonstrate that US officials, Trump administration officials, and figures close to the Trump administration and the CIA knew about Operation Edgemont, which was the plan to invade Venezuela and arrest the country's president, Nicolas Maduro. And at the center of the story is a firm called Global Governments. I want you to talk about what Operation Edgemont is and tell us about the role of global governments, who was involved in that group, and what were their objectives.
Yeah, let me just take it one step at a time. So the operation in of itself, I didn't, there's a lot of media and individuals and bad actors and whatnot. When the narrative came out, they were talking about how I was trying to find a way to flip Venice. I wasn't. Keith Schiller came to me, global governments came to me. I didn't even know there was an initiative to do such a thing. Obviously, back then, the Trump administration had been pushing for the CIA to find a way to get Maduro out. They were dragging their feet. This is evidenced by there's a great Wired article, well sourced, several CIA, case officers were sources on that article. But essentially, I get tasked to do this op. And ultimately, when you look at the the very first email I sent out to the global governance team, which is in the discovery, there's obviously a ton of discovery that's come out. I even outlined that this will not be a bloody thing. This will be Venezuelans basically, retaking their own country. And so I think my strategy and certainly my intent for this op was to have Venezuelans take back their own country, right? And the way you do this, it's nuanced. I get it. On the surface, and the narrative is always going to be, wow, this was a coup. These dirty mercenaries with it. This was not the plan. It was not the initial plan, and it was never the plan. And obviously, to do something like this, it's actually called a military coup. And so you use units close to the president, or the leadership in Venezuela. At that point, it was three different leaders. It was Maduro, Cabello, and Tariq. And you develop access and placement to those leaders who have access maneuver unit or task maneuver units. So these units you align yourself with through the asset, whether it's a general or whoever has access, and these individuals do the heavy lifting. Now, several factors made that possible. Although it took me about a year and a half to get access and placement, the fact that all the pressure that was on the Maduro regime at the time was considerable. There was sanctions. There was, launching of a carrier or a destroyer group, much like there is now. There was, tremendous amount of saber rattling in the news. There were popular rebellions, all such, all of this designed to put pressure on the Maduro regime. I was able to, like I said, get access to these individuals because they were afraid. And I think the audience needs to understand that there's a tipping point when it comes to flipping a country. People surrounding a tyrannical leadership aren't going to want to. It's not an easy decision for them to make to betray that leader simply because they have families. And so if it's mistimed and they stay close to that tyrannical leader and another country comes in and a coup is successful, then those individuals will be treated just as badly by the incoming element as the target, which would have been, obviously Maduro, Cabello, Tariq. And so it's really difficult to get support. Now, obviously, when
I mean, that is fucking horrifying. What the fucking hell? And we kind of know this already. Uh, it's just to hear it be spoken about so casually of like what was attempted to be done, right? Like this, we really need to like go there with our minds, where it's like, how is this allowed? Like, how's this guy on a YouTube fucking channel talking about this crazy fucking story that our current sitting president was directly involved in? And like, how it's the most criminal shit ever. What the hell, dude? And they're gonna get it's like the administration, the apparatus, the CIA, whoever the fuck's involved is gonna get away with it. And this guy's just on YouTube talking. Look at this. I'm freaking out of it. Like, what the hell? Okay, here we go.
And Mike
Fucking hell,
Pompeo
man.
shut down the embassy in Caracas, it was virtually impossible for the CIA to run any meaningful human intelligence operations, which means they would have done what I did, which is just gained access placement and loyalty among, Maduro, Cabello, and Tariq's generals or whomever. And they would have done the same thing. But the fact that Pompeo shut that embassy down made it impossible for the CIA. I didn't know at the time back then, but there was a civil war in the White House. You can evidence, I mean, that's evidenced by the Russia collusion hoax stuff and all of the evidence that's come out on that, and then the Obama with undermining, the Trump administration, as well as, I mean, the FBI were tapping Senator Hawley's cell phone. So there's these, back then there were a lot of games being played, trade crafty kind of games that were being played in the White House that I don't believe that the Trump administration was privy to. They weren't aware of the level of scrutiny and I guess battle that they were under. But it's pretty clear now. And so, I mean, when I look at the 302s more and more, and when I look at the discovery, it's more evident that this was the case. It's just proves what I have, I guess, been saying since the first discovery drop. And I mean, there are several discovery drops coming, every month or so, which are spaced apart for, I guess, the reason of time and distance. I mean, that plays to the hand of the government, but I think that's a very weighty macro standpoint. Does that answer any of your questions, Max?
Uh, not not exactly. I mean, I wanted you to talk about global governments and what it was and who
Sure.
was involved in it and where they fit into this plot. So maybe thanks for that
So,
macro perspective, but this is sort of the
yeah,
as AOC, this would be the micro to the macro, as
sure. So
AOC would say.
let's drill down in one of the interested parties, yeah, of
Yeah.
which there are obviously you have the intelligence community folks with the FBI and the DEA and Venezuelan opposition folks, and then you have
This is what they
the
use your
element
money
of my
for.
team that was trying to actually do the work, as being hired by and directed by the Trump administration. And then the third component is the global governments. These are the guys who hired me. Their intent or their piece in this was they wanted business contracts, and so they wanted a way to monetize, I suppose, the aftermath of a Maduro-free Venezuela. So they
Basically to
had
exploit Venezuela's resources and get construction contracts and drilling
yes, right,
contracts and so on.
correct, right. Drilling, mining, as you know, Venezuela is resource rich. Also, it needs to be reconstructed, humanitarian efforts, things of that nature. So global governments would have had the contract for all of this. I was brought in because the big hurdle to this was the fact that Venezuela was still under the control of Maduro, the Maduro regime, and they needed somebody to remove him.
Right. In order to get that wealth, they
The
needed you
fuck?
to remove them, to remove him.
Correct. Correct.
God dang it.
Okay. And so you have Rowan Kraft, who was a senior advisor to global governments, who was an heir to the Kraft family fortune. And you have Keith Schiller, who was close to the Trump organization. I guess he was Trump's bodyguard. What was his role? Who were these figures?
So Key Schiller, I mean, it's funny that he's the bodyguard. He was the head of White House operations, right? So
And sorry
if
to interrupt, but he had an arms export control license, correct?
he did, right,
Okay.
absolutely. And so he was a head of White House operations, I think, until I don't know 2018 or something. And then, and this is kind of, it's that position is a pretty heavy title. Key Schiller basically could come and go to the White House anytime he wanted. He's a very respected figure in the Trump administration.
Hey, could you do that, guys?
And so he approached
Nope.
me. I guess he learned some of the other work I had done
We
through
like it
maybe a
though.
mutual acquaintance. And so he contacted me and asked me to come to a meeting, which I agreed to. Um, Rowan Kraft, head of the Kraft dynasty, is a well-connected guy. I mean, he was making phone calls to Admiral Fowler, who was Southcom commander. This was
Wow.
in the very first meeting. He was, I mean, you read about all this in the Discovery. He made
What the fuck? The Kraft motherfuckers can talk right to an admiral running Southern Command? What are we talking about, dude? I can't even do any analysis. It's so movie storybook sounding. What the actual fuck? I mean, this is like so far 12 minutes in. So far, this story was like made for the stereotype of Alex Jones. And guess what? Is that motherfucker gonna cover that shit? I wonder. He fucking better. I mean, this is everything he wants. He has corporations, he has governments, he has intelligence agencies, he has mercenaries, he has it all. For the like, instead of like him making random guesses, Iran has 9 nukes, and just throwing random shit out there and bullshitting his audience. He has right here a fucking gold mine for a blatant conspiracy. I mean, the name of the group's was it Global Government, Global Governance, whatever the fuck. Everything's lining up for an Alex Jones type person, but what does he say? We need to go in and bomb Maduro. We need to bomb Maduro. I can't believe I'm wrecked, and people are going to stand for it, aren't they? Or they're not going to hear about this story. Let's just be honest. Let's continue. It's just mind blowing. That's all. Here we go.
he was, I mean, you read about all this in the Discovery. He made a phone call to Elliot Abrams, which, as it stands, I mean, one of the
Directly
Venezuelan
under the Trump
opposition
administration.
people who worked for Leopoldo Lopez had a meeting with Elliot Abrams in the White House.
Right.
As did he have a meeting, several meetings. There were several, these individuals I was dealing with on a first name basis and, coming up with tactical operations and strategic operations were Venezuelan opposition guys. These guys seem to have the run of the White House. They were able to have their some of their compatriots like Christopher Figueroa taken off the sanctions list. Christopher Figueroa is the head of this was the head of the Sabine. He was a torturer, and yet, he was given complete clean slate. I think Forbes did an article on him and said this is a real Venezuelan, and I talked to people who he had tortured.
Wow.
So these guys were greased in with Mike Pompeo, Elliot Abrams, John Bolton, all of these DC power players, and I was in Colombia with these guys trying to figure it out. But
John
don't let me go
Bolton,
too
huh?
far down the rabbit hole, Max. You're
Well,
gonna
well,
have to.
let's drill this down. So Nestor Science, this is someone who shows up in the Discovery documents that I've reviewed. What role did he play in this? Because I believe he was the one who introduced you to global governments and promised to connect you to Elliot Abrams and John Bolton, who were in the White House about the plot.
Yeah, so Nestor put me in touch with global governments. He was in the room in the very first meeting, as was um, it was George Betancourt, who was obviously he's the guy,
Jorge Betancourt was
yeah, he was
Venezuelan,
Leopoldo
a
Lopez.
Venezuelan sort of expat
Right,
opposition activist, right? And
right.
said he
I don't
had
ever hear about
contacts in
Juan
the
Guaido.
CIA.
Yeah, so he was meeting frequently with the CIA. He was meeting with the Colombian intelligence, the DN, Colombian DNI, and he would speak freely about it. So he was an asset for these intelligence agencies. He was in the room the very first meeting in I guess it was Miami, as was global governance, who were basically an envoy for the Trump administration to try to get this, the ball rolling on this entire thing. And so you had this setup. You had these two entities, right? You had this intelligence community, and um, you had the global governance guys, and then you had my team in the middle. So
I mean, for all the people that you hear or see on Twitter saying anything about, yeah, just blow those narco terrorists up, remind them that it's not actually about fighting drug dealing. Duh. I mean, they should know that off the rip. Like, they should realize that's not the case. It's not about fucking stopping drug dealing. If they were, they'd be doing a lot more at the border and in the Pacific than the random ocean next to Venezuela. Like, come on. And what do they want? They want to carve the fucking country up and hand out slices of cake to whatever gangsters are a part of the deal. Fucking hell, man. Like, it's just so criminal. And don't let this thing stop you here. Like, honestly, when you're listening to this guy talk and you're hearing these stories, keep that same mind and that same critical thinking across to other topics. When you look at Gaza, when you look at the Middle East, when you look at Africa or other countries in South America or Mexico or any other international dealings with especially with the US government involved, like if these guys are able to do this, the way the amount of detail these guys are giving right now, if they're able to do this, you have to imagine what's going on in these other stories. But instead, a lot of people just go with, well, peace deal. Trump made a peace deal. He ended 9 wars. He ended 9 wars in 7 days. Wow. Don't let these, like, you have to eviscerate the ideas that they're putting out there. Once again, the people, they could just be dummies that got brainwashed or they don't look into information too much, whatever. But the idea being said out like Trump is a good guy trying to end wars, you wreck them with this type of shit. I mean, this shit is so fucking valuable. Let's get back to it. And once again, leave it. You can leave it as questions. Like, hey, man, here's a question about an idea that I've heard before. Why not like approach it like that? Don't say it as a fact. Say it as a question. Why not? Hey, man, I heard this idea over here. What do you have to say about that? Oh, he's, no new wars. He hasn't started a war before. Yeah, okay, bud. Anyways, let's keep playing. Man, this is crazy. This is a crazy fucking story. Here we go.
And so your team was basically the muscle. You were going to kick in the doors and get it done. And
I mean, maybe metaphorically, but I'm not interested in the, invasion. That would be an Eric Prince. If that was, and I had seen his prospectus and his, what he was kind of trying to sell at that point. And that was invasion. I
They
didn't,
pick the same names over
you know,
and
I,
over.
Eric
most,
Prince from Blackwater, who's very close to
right.
Trump Incorporated, was furnishing a prospectus and trying to raise money for an armed invasion of Venezuela, and you saw it.
Right. And so, yeah. And
Oh
so
my
I
god.
think that I am, about half of my training in special operations is human intelligence. Quite frankly, I mean, we learn it very early on. We learn to work by, with, and through people on the ground. And so, I'm not interested in banging it out with
Pause.
Venezuelan regulars, right?
Pause.
Otherwise,
Pause.
it kind of defeats the purpose. And so, the idea is I'm going to use Venezuelan units in order to encircle and capture Maduro, Tariq, and Diosdado.
Tariq
And that,
al-Assami, Diosdado
right,
Cabello,
correct,
and Nicolas Maduro.
correct. You need Caracas. I mean, if Chavez taught us anything with his first coup, it was you need Caracas. And to be perfectly honest, this was a triumvirate. It was Cabello, and it was Tariq, and it was Maduro, right? And so to be perfectly clear, I didn't care if anybody was captured. I just wanted these guys out. I wanted to get my guys in, so that I could bring about fair and free elections. In the interim, there would have been a junta, which would have had, Guaido and a few others in there just to
Juan
bring about
Guaido.
these fair and free elections. And that was kind of that was the intent that I personally had going forward.
Um, and so, John, you're telling me that John Bolton and Elliot Abrams knew about.
Hold on for just a second. Yeah, yo, AOC. Here's your chance. You want to impeach Trump? Here it is. This is it exactly to a T. But guess what? Her party's guilty of this too. Remember the State of the Union address from Trump, where they like, we have a good friend here, Juan Guaido, and everyone, the Democrats, the Republicans, they all stand up and clap because they know that game. The game is to overthrow Venezuela. Both sides are a part of that. And I'm saying, like, remember that? I mean, maybe people haven't seen it, but there's definitely a clip from back in the day where AOC is practically running away from Max Blumenthal, like basically running away as he's trying to ask her questions. It's like, oh no, I got meetings. I'm sorry, my assistant. Boom, door closed. Bye. See you later. And it's like, imagine if she actually made that connection back then. Then she would be aware of this fucking story, right? Because she'd be a fan or something of the Grayzone. And then this story would be right here. The fucking layup of layups if you want to impeach a president. And draw them up for criminal charges, honestly. I mean, I don't know how many fucking laws are broken with this. But something's got to be broken. Here we go.
Forward.
It's incredible. Incredible.
And so, John, you're telling me that John Bolton and Elliot Abrams knew about Operation Edgemont, your plot, which would become Operation Gideon, and they had some involvement in it. I mean, can you be as clear as possible about that and how high this went?
Yeah, so I think it's pretty obvious that Elliot Abrams
Mhm.
was contacted by Rowan Kraft. He was also having meetings with the Venezuelan opposition strategic, I guess, leadership in George Betancourt, which, to be honest, you can't find his name in the news anywhere. It's well protected. That said, I mean, it's I've read it, and so because of that, you have National Security Advisor who knows full well that this is happening. And then you have obviously Mark Esper, who alludes to this in his book.
Art fucking
He
Esper.
alludes to a meeting between Claver Cardones, which again, Claver Cardones met with George Betancourt. And so when you have these high level national security advisors meeting with delegations from other countries, and these delegations are talking to me and Trump's inner circle about, liberating or flipping, whatever you want to say, Venezuela, it is at that point there is no denying the fact that this was at the highest levels of government and that there were opposing views on how what was going to be done with this operation.
Now, I believe Mark Esper became head of the DoD, Department of Defense, later in the Trump administration. I believe he replaced Mad Dog Mattis, right? What's his name? Is it Robert Mattis? I know they call him Mad Dog. Mad Dog Mattis. And I believe this Mark Esper guy replaced him, and he was like essentially a contractor for mercenary groups and military contracts and all this fucking stupid shit. So, I mean, there's no way to not think that this reaches the highest levels of the U.S. government. And then you see what they're doing today, right? Where they're like, look, there's narco terrorists, and we might have to we're going to send troops down there. We're going to blow up the country. Like, whatever the fuck this guy's saying, right? All these threats, and he's blowing up boats in the middle of the ocean. You have to believe that this guy, the president, is involved in all of this. Let's just be honest. All right, here we go.
And you mentioned Leopoldo Lopez as well. He is sort of
Yeah, this
the
fucking guy too. I remember him.
godfather of the putschist arm of the Venezuelan opposition, the part of the Venezuelan opposition that wants to stage a military coup. He had actually been involved in a military coup. He's heavily backed by the government of Spain and the US government. And you said that he had some knowledge of this plan as well?
Oh, absolutely. So his man is George Betancourt. His other man is Lester Toledo. And these guys were greased in with,
Weebs.
the U.S. intelligence, Colombian intelligence, and furthermore, they were greased in with the Rendon group, which not to be confused with J.J. Rendon, but I think they call it
Yeah, John Rendon, right?
TRG. Yeah, TRG, the Rendon group, and these guys were doing.
Weeb.
They had been doing infrastructure attacks or helping, facilitate infrastructure attacks in Venezuela for, oh, I don't know, decade or so. And obviously, as you know, these are all TSSCI projects that the CIA oversees in these private companies. Anytime you see the lights go out in Venezuela, I think there was a big nuclear reactor that was, or sorry, a um,
It
a
was the
refinery.
dam, the it was a hydroelectric dam that went out in, I believe, 2019 and caused
Yeah,
power outages across Caracas.
there was, but there was something else, Max. It was a big attack, and it killed a lot of Venezuelans. So,
Tell me about
anyways,
that.
yeah. So these about the I don't know that it was in Maracaibo. I'm getting this wrong, but it was a refinery that was attacked.
Yeah, that's correct.
You know, tens of ten. I don't know the number of how many Venezuelans were killed, but this attack was perpetrated by U.S. intelligence working with Venezuelan opposition. I guess you could say saboteurs. Um, so
And
look,
and, and
there's a
go
yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, there's a longstanding history of the CIA working, and I have a secret recording with the God, it's George Betancourt, Lester Toledo, with there's a guy that I had to take a secret recording. They were talking about how they don't trust Donald Trump and that they only trust the CIA, they only trust Juan Cruz. And it's plain as day about the allegiance, where the allegiances are to these individuals. They're not aligned with Trump. They're aligned against Trump. And I think, if I may, like fast forwarding now, when you look at the dynamic with Maria Corina, how does the Trump administration trust any of the opposition leadership for Venezuela? So you have a very detached um, a relationship between these individuals. So,
I do what I'm told. I do
and
what
I
I do
think
what I'm told.
the media narrative on all of this has been you obviously there's an individual who writes for the AP who's been gunning for me for a long time, and he comes up with his word choice is pretty careful. He talks about tacit approval. There was no tacit approval. There are no bones about it. I was tasked to do this. I was given verbal authority to do this by several parties who were working for the government. Um, but I do think that when you look at when you peel back the layers and you simplify it, there are sides to this, and the sides are quite clear.
Yeah. When you which side? What are the sides?
You have an intelligence community that has been obviously, I mean, I saw you reporting the other day in the 90s, Cartel de Solis was stood up by the CIA. This is no secret. I mean, this is the truth. I mean,
This is the
retweet.
cartel which Nicolas Maduro is said to be in charge of, but may be actually defunct. And you're confirming that it was set up by the CIA in the 90s.
Oh, absolutely. This is not, we've known this for quite some time.
According to what the former head of the Drug Enforcement Administration told Mike Wallace, this drug shipment got here courtesy of what he calls drug trafficking by the CIA in partnership with the Venezuelan National Guard.
Um,
Fuck.
Yeah.
the Cartel of the Suns is kind of a joke. among us because
Didn't know that.
it's, I mean, they didn't name themselves that. It's there's a patch on their uniform that there's a sun, and so I guess the DEA or whoever named them this. But the facilitation of the drugs by the CIA from this group is it's well documented. And so you have this side of it, right? You have an intelligence agency that, quite frankly, they will withstand changes in presidency, and so they have their TSSCI projects running, and their ability to facilitate and to aggregate resources from drug trade. And this is what they're trying to protect. So how does it benefit them to get rid of Nicolas Maduro, right? Like it really doesn't. You can argue, well, Monroe Doctrine, you have to have white space in Venezuela and surrounding areas of the Caribbean so that Russia, China can't get a strategic foothold. But um, the other side of the
It's
coin is,
immoral.
and this is obviously what the Trump administration is this is one of the reasons they're pressuring the Maduro regime and were back then, or at least they should be. They should be falling back on the Monroe Doctrine. I know that largely they're relying on the fact that Venezuela is a narco state, but that's the irony, right? I mean, okay, Venezuela is a narco state, but their partner is the CIA. Is it? I mean, um, I don't know how to square that, right?
I mean, and I say this sometimes in videos, and little fucks like Mad Hunter can't stand up to her. I'm like, yeah, you do realize your own government. You keep complaining about drug dealers. Look what they're doing in our country, drug dealing and drug trafficking. And it's like you do know our country engages in drug dealing, right? You do know a lot of these drugs come into the country from ports of entry, land, air, sea. How does that happen? Well, when they say they're going after drug dealers, they bomb random boats in the middle of the fucking ocean. Meanwhile, the guys actually carrying large weight of drugs into the country are just skedaddling through the fucking borders. But don't worry, as they're not fighting, like actually trying to stop drug trafficking in the country, as they're not actually doing that, they're going to say, hey, we're trying to stop drug trafficking. So you know what? You guys all need digital IDs. For you to move around, you have to go through every little fucking loophole to get where you got to get to. But if you're fucking carrying, tons of cocaine, tons of fentanyl, whatever, just come on in. You're good. You're our excuse to fuck them over. I mean, it's incredible. This interview alone can arm you with so many different fucking ideas as far as argumentation. It's incredible. From drug trafficking and our government involved, to cooing that our government's involved in, to the corporations working in tandem with the government doing these coups and drug trafficking and all this fucking devil worshipping bullshit they do around the world. Incredible. Let's continue.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is it's more of a petro state and responsible for only a fraction of cocaine exports to the United States. But it seems to be, and this is, I think, extraneous to our conversation, or we can kind of cover it later, but just for the purpose of context, it seems to be a target because of its oil wealth and its socialist oriented sort of nationalist resource government being targeted under cover of a drug war. There's an official actually who's been involved in the targeting of Venezuela for years who operated out of the State Department, but seems to wear a different hat, potentially a hat at Langley, and his name is Juan Cruz, and he's come up in the discovery documents through your case. Can you tell us about Juan Cruz, who he is, and how he fits into this story?
Yeah, so Juan Cruz was the go-to for George Betancourt and Lester Toledo. He was, as far as I know, he was their guy, like the face of the intelligence agency for these two individuals, which would have really made him their handler. They referenced him by name, and he had some strange things to say about me when he was interviewed after the fact, after all this went down. And so he is one of the other evidences of U.S. intelligence involvement or sabotage.
And you're saying Juan Cruz was operating under State Department cover as a CIA handler of these two Venezuelan opposition figures who were seeking to sort of finesse a private regime change operation. Jorge,
Right.
George Betancourt, and Lester Toledo.
Correct. What his capacity, what capacity he was working for the agency is unknown to me, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that he was a knock or some other, form of agent. Obviously, Juan Cruz, he's
Yeah,
been around for a while. He has deep connections.
indeed. So Lester Toledo introduced you to this Venezuelan general who's a very shady character who is controversial. Like Toledo and Betancourt didn't like him. His name is Cliver Alcala, correct?
Correct.
And you
Correct.
wound up working with him in the jungle in Colombia, sort of to stage the invasion or intervention in Venezuela with Alcala and his men who were you know rebelling against the Venezuelan military.
Right. Right. And so this general was trusted by a lot of the generalship in Venezuela. Juan Guaido was not at all.
Yeah,
Mm.
This is why the popular rebellion failed miserably. They did not have the support of the military. And yeah, Juan Guaido had the support of the CIA, and they were helping with that little, April 19th thing, but they did not have the support of the military. As a result, this was in complete contrast to what I had set up. As a result, it failed. And so the difference for my op was that I had essentially access and placement, and I had assets who trusted the general. They tolerated the fact that I was working with Guido, but they did not trust Guido. They did, however, trust General Alcala. General Alcala was a strong opponent of Nicolas Maduro. Um, Checkered past, sure. That said, he was from what, and I had the opportunity to ops test him for about a year, and he showed no signs of deception. He never lied to me, and his part of the operation really was. And this is the nuance of when you're putting together an operation like this. I don't need everybody to be playing in the sandbox nicely together, but I do need certain pieces not to attack other pieces. And in this instance, when the United
Wow.
States arrested General Alcala, you can imagine the fallout in Caracas with my assets, my trusted assets. The man that they trusted was now getting taken by the United States, and there were a lot of questions they had in their minds. It made them fearful. You remember before when I talked about how people close to Maduro were fearful? I mean, you know, we were bombing Iranian generals back then. We were saber rattling, but they were fearful. They were fearful if Maduro left power, they wanted to be on the right side of things. Anybody in that position who's in a position of power in the orbit of somebody who's a target wants to be on the right side when something unfolds, if something unfolds. And if it doesn't, then they still need to have the loyalty of that person who's targeted, this case, Maduro. Does that make sense? And so
yeah.
it's
So you were working with Alcala in Colombia at a time when Colombia had a very pro-US government that was working with all of the US agencies, Pentagon, CIA, DIA, all that stuff, under Ivan Duque. Now Colombia's government, at
Two
least the
two
president is a leftist,
dweebs.
Gustavo Petro. But at that time, Colombia was sort of a base of operations against Venezuela. I interviewed Nicolas Maduro. He told me, the Colombian government was heavily involved in plotting with John Bolton an attempt on his life, the drone attack. So
Yes.
what kind of contacts did you have with the Colombian government, and what role did they play in Operation Gideon?
So I had phone call, which was brokered by Lester Toledo. Ivan Duque basically promises for this operation like camps and freedom of movement and then border ability to cross borders, things of that nature. The caveat being that we had to attack the ELN, right? And this was a very strange request for me.
Big
It was kind
caveat.
of, yeah, it was strange. It was like, I don't know that I never really was going to, I was never going to do it was kind of ridiculous. Anyways, Ivan Duque, I went on W Radio and Ivan Duque, I said this on W Radio and Ivan Duque called into W Radio. W Radio is probably the largest radio station in all Latin America. It's you know, tens million, or sorry, hundreds of millions of listeners. And
Yeah.
I'm in Miami, film like we're taping, and I say this, and Ivan Duque calls into the studio, and he says, "I don't know. I've never met Lester Toledo. I've never met, any of these people. I don't know this person. I don't know that person." And I promptly produced photos of Ivan Duque with, Lester Toledo, but just the fact that the president would call into a radio station and he felt that strongly about it was, I think
Question.
that was,
When was this interview?
I think it was about a year ago.
Okay. Yeah, Ivan Duque is now a sort of like a club DJ in Miami.
Fuck my life.
So
Okay.
it's probably listening at the time.
Even Dookie. That's his American name.
Say that again?
But, so he's a Edmond Duque. In English, that's Even Dookie. Well, what's he do besides be a bartender in Miami?
What's he do besides we're listening to this, right? I guess he's involved was involved in the politics of Venezuela and the U.S. apparatus involved with that. I guess it's between like Colombia, Venezuela, and the U.S., right? Probably other countries too.
Wait, Venezuela, U.S. What was the third country you said?
Colombia?
Oh, okay.
Apparently a lot of shit was being planned out in Colombia. And as Max said, before this more recent guy was in office, because this guy isn't as favorable towards the U.S. I guess the last administration in Colombia was in favoritism towards the U.S., meaning they could work with our intelligence agencies and run operations actually out of Colombia to fuck over Venezuela.
And who is this dude talking? And why is he whistleblowing on everything, basically?
His name's Jordan Goudreau, and I covered a story involving him years ago during the first Trump administration when him and some of I guess his team were arrested or caught as they were attempting to do a coup in Venezuela. I don't know if you remember the Green Beret guys, the ex-Green Beret guys that were trying to overthrow the Venezuela government, Nicolas Maduro. Maybe you remember that. Maybe you don't.
I remember an explosion happening near at a parade or a festival or something. Is that what we're talking about?
No, I believe this is different. These guys came in through the water, through the ocean, right? And apparently, according to this guy, what he's saying, what the Jordan Goudreau guy saying is, he had assets that were kind of higher up in the Venezuelan military, and then those guys were just going to capture the three heads of Venezuela: Maduro, someone named Tariq, something like that, and I forgot the last guy's name. So it's going to be like something where he helps their kind of military guys that are against Maduro, help them take over the country, and then I guess start elections, allegedly. And this involved a lot of.
So is this guy talking changes like? Has the guy talking like changed his stance and now he's not against Maduro?
What I think happened is he got in trouble. I forgot exactly for what, maybe he got charged for this or something different. And in the court, he ended up seeing discovery, right? So he started seeing names of all these motherfuckers, and now he's basically, it's not even whistleblowing because it's going to be public knowledge now, right? Because a lot of these files were released in discovery or showcased in discovery in his trial, right?
Wait, they let him have discovery for this? This
Apparently.
seems like classified level shit. And you know how hard it is to get fucking discovery for fucking if they accuse me of fucking stealing from Walmart.
Yeah, but it would have to be on the books though with the government, right? This is not on the books with the government, not really.
No,
Like
no.
these guys are hired by a group, I kid you not, called Global Governments. That's the name of the group. And one of the heads of that is a part of the Kraft family. So these are private companies paying this guy to help overthrow the fucking Venezuelan government.
Okay.
And obviously they
Robert
had
Kraft?
CIA. I believe it's from the
So
same
it
family,
wasn't
Anthony.
so it
Yo.
wasn't officially the Trump administration. So fuck it, Kraft can take the fall.
Well, the Jordan Goudreau guy, what he says in this interview is, sure, it's not officially a government operation, but like we're not stupid, right? It's obviously a government operation when you have this high of level of people involved, from Bolton to Elliot Abrams. That we just saw a picture of Marco Rubio, the whole Juan Guaido thing, which he's Venezuelan, but we saw him all over the U.S. as like being like the true real leader of Venezuela, right? And then obviously Trump. Like it's
Well, you
basically
gotta
the
also,
administration.
yeah, you gotta also, like I was talking about yesterday about correlations.
Mhm.
That's why when this guy nominated Marco Rubio, it's like that's not a small little thing he did, bro. That shit is fucking.
Oh yeah.
That's telepathing what he's gonna do late, what he's doing then to now later, what he was gonna do in regards to I guess you could say Cuba, the
Mhm.
Middle East,
Yeah.
Venezuela, things like that.
He's already Rubio has said because of what they did to Bolsonaro, we might do something to Brazil.
Yeah, they don't like
Well,
that
could it,
leader,
well,
the Lula guy or whatever.
well,
They don't like him.
Lula got cozy with Russia and China and BRICS.
There's
So
Lula, that
I mean,
Supreme
there's
Court guy that's become dictator.
no, that's different. No, Lula got arrested too. Lula got
I don't
arrested
know.
He got
when
arrested
I don't know
first.
who
When
Lula is.
Bolsonaro was in office, he got arrested, and apparently Glenn Greenwald helped him get arrested, helped the Brazilian
What?
government by reporting on certain things. And I think
Whoa.
I'm kind of like he didn't help, but he did help. But it was like he shed light on an investigation, but the investigation may or may not have been a political witch hunt, according to certain. I think Michael Brooks was speaking very loudly on that, like, oh, like it was a political witch
Okay.
hunt to like get to make sure this guy could never run again. So
Okay.
they arrested him on, like, it was what, car wash? That's what they called it, like a car wash. That was the name of the investigation or something. And then Bolsonaro, I don't even I lost track. I don't know why Bolsonaro has legal issues. I don't even know.
Yeah. I mean,
All right.
it's a
Yeah, and
whole
that's kind of
mess. So,
sideways. But just
But I
saying,
did hear that
Marco
part you said,
Rubio,
yeah, where
Marco Rubio
this
has said we might be
yes,
doing
this
something if they
administration,
don't. Yeah.
yeah, this administration through Marco Rubio, even Trump and others, they want to go after whoever is persecuting Bolsonaro.
oh yeah, for sure.
No, but I was wondering, did you hear that Jared Kushner and the Saudi prince and the Saudi family are about to acquire EA for $55 billion?
I have heard that.
What? Wow.
I have.
I
Where
mean,
they go?
no way that's gonna make it any better.
But yeah, back to this. This is probably one of the most interesting stories I've ever heard. Like I knew about the story, right? All those details I said to you, like I already knew about that. I've heard of this guy the Jordan Goudreau guy. I've heard of this stuff, but the extra details that this guy's throwing in here makes this one of the most interesting things and kind of cold as like blatant. Here's blatant corruption. I keep saying it. Yo, Bernie, yo, AOC, you guys care about getting rid of Trump? Here it is. Here's your fucking layup of the century. Put this guy on camera on your platforms and say, look what happened over here. But they can't do that, can they? Can they?
But it's weird too, because you those two in particular, they don't really dive into foreign affairs or anything pertaining to foreign affairs in regards to foreign policy.
I mean, you're telling me that they're not covering the most blatant forms of corruption we've seen from our government? That could
And that's
easily
also true.
be a
What you
layup
said
for
is
them.
also true. The most blatant forms of corruption would be you trying to influence other countries, cool them, kill leaders, kill civilians that aren't even in your sovereign territory. I mean, like that should be like open shut
Yeah.
cookie cutter shit. And yeah, these guys don't ever. You fucking hear that guy Thomas Massey talk about that shit before these guys.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
It
what?
also makes me wonder
Oh God,
if he's telling the truth here. I don't know enough to
that's
argue
a
that.
fair statement. It's a fair statement.
What? Why is he still alive? He's got three
Maybe
governments that
because
want him
it's
dead. I'm
in the.
guessing.
Maybe it's because it's in the public domain now. Maybe that's why. Like once again, before his interview, I guess he already he said this guy was saying like there's still more left to the discovery. Like I think he said something like once a month they will be releasing certain files from this case, right? Let's be honest, and the way the guy talks and the amount of operations this guy's probably involved in, he probably knows he probably knows how to take care of himself in regards to that. If I had to guess, just the way the guy seems and the way he talks about these things, he sounds like a straight up expert. Like, and that's probably why they went to him to get this job done. All right.
And he's doing this on. He's not at Max's news station, right? He's
No,
some
I don't know where he is.
undisclosed location. Some undisclosed location.
They didn't even bring it up, so I don't even know if he's just at his house or if he's at some way he's hiding himself. I can't say it now. But,
I don't know, but I'm also
This level of stuff. I think he'd be hiding himself.
I'm also starting to believe that like a lot of things can be said out loud and nothing's gonna happen from you saying them out loud. Because I've just seen it too many times.
Well, how about this, Anthony? How about this guy telling us that the CIA set up a drug operation in Venezuela, and the U.S. government is using that as an excuse to take out Maduro?
Yeah, pretty much.
Look
yeah.
at that. I mean,
that's,
what? Oh,
well, it's like, that's not good. How are you gonna? You would have to. You know what I'm saying? Like a normal, not saying we're not normal. A normal person who has 9 to 5 doesn't know what the fuck's going on. How are you gonna captivate them into caring about that? Because most
announce
people
it everywhere.
don't.
They would if you announce it everywhere, but that never happens,
You could
does
write
it?
that off. You could write that off. You could say this happened under Biden's administration. Trump's cleaning it up.
No, but you're right.
This happened under Trump.
Jordan.
This happened under Trump, the Trump administration, during his first term. This is when this stuff happened. I
It's
covered
just
it back
that
then.
yeah, but it's just that you no, you're right. The medium in which that gets presented in, I guess just it's like minor leagues and major leagues. If CNN ain't picking it up, if the New York Times ain't picking it, even then it might not matter. But it's like it has to be all over. It has to be all over Times Square. Trump administration got it basically in an Iran Contra type fucking thing going on, like
with guys from Iran Contra
with guys
in it.
from Iran Contra doing
Elliot Abrams, bro.
another Iran Contra.
I mean, if someone had some magic, like some Lex Luthor character, could hack everyone's entertainment devices and just play this interview, like all for 24 hours on a straight loop, play this entire interview, you bet your ass people will be like, "Yo, what the fuck is this?" More so than their TVs being hacked. You'd be like, "Yeah, we got hacked, whatever," but like, what the fuck is this? Go explain this to me. Hey, press secretary, explain this to me. Mr. President, explain this to me.
And
Marco,
like, bro,
little Marco, explain it.
What do you always say? What do you always say that The worst emotion is apathy.
I mean,
And it's like, bro, that shit is just like, that shit is a cottage industry now, bro. Everyone's apathetic. Like that's kind of what I'm getting. Like, how do you get people to care about this?
they have to see others care about it first. Let's just be honest. That's usually the
Nah.
thing. Others
Bro.
have to care about it first. What was that stupid
Right.
thing we heard yesterday? 6'7", right? I don't even mean. Doesn't make sense to me. I listened to the fucking song. Okay, who cared? But like, if someone starts caring about it, and then enough start caring about it, and enough start caring about it, then the lames will grab hold of it and jump on board. Like, yeah, I care about this too now.
What are you talking? What song?
What was that shit?
6'7", bro.
That's not the
6'7".
name of the song, I don't think. But
Bro, you don't know 6'7"?
Yeah.
some shit we saw in South Park, and then I guess it's based on some song that actually exists. And I listened to it, and it's weird. But once again, anything could just go fucking trending, you know. But they have to see. Like, if you say, like, if you said this story to like your friend or your neighbor or some shit, they're like, "Oh shit, that's crazy, man."
Well, they wouldn't
Right?
believe me.
But
They
then
wouldn't believe me.
Wait,
if they turn on their phones and see, "Oh, this story's everywhere," what the fuck?
is there any significance to 6'7"? Does it mean anything?
I don't fucking know, dude. And I stopped caring like halfway through me looking into it. I'm like, what is this? What is this number thing, meme thing? Oh wait, I don't care. All right, I'm going back to my life. See you later. Anyways, let's keep playing this. Once again, there's still so much time left, and I'm sure there's more information they're gonna go over. So, once again, this story is fucking crazy. Here we go.
Oh yeah. And so here's, I guess, the nuance of
Let's not forget they're
the
blowing
Ivan
people up in the
Duque
ocean, by the
sort
way,
of piece of it.
or this shit.
Ivan Duque was the president, and he was aligned with Juan Guaido, Leopoldo Lopez, CIA, and obviously Colombian intelligence.
Yeah.
When everything went bad, Colombian there was a Colombian intelligence. There were two Colombian intelligence operatives who went into the AOB in Bogota, and they had asked the green suitor compatriots, the PSYOPs green suitors, American green suitors who were working, they asked if the green suitors would help them do a PSYOP against me, to which the green suitors said, no, we don't do that against American citizens. But and the one of the other
Maybe you
small
guys don't.
pieces to that, that's not a small piece, the shell game with all of the guns and all of these things. When the individual was arrested at a checkpoint and had I guess a trunk full of guns, there were two gentlemen in the back seat of the car. These two men were never identified. They were never interviewed. They basically left. The driver of the car, he ended up dying under mysterious circumstances a year later.
Wow.
So I think you can kind of imagine um, how that shakes out.
Wait. Give me the background on this incident.
This was in Colombia. Um, this was one of the first sabotage events that the Colombian intelligence, under the probably request from the U.S. CIA slash, Betancourt, Toledo, whoever, they have these guys actually, do this. Um, this is when we're in our final corridor. Like my operation's imminent.
Yeah.
This car is stopped at a checkpoint, and two men, military age males, as it's reported, they get out of the car. They are not, and there's a trunk full of guns. They are not arrested. They are not questioned. They are not identified. They go about their merry way. The driver dies in mysterious circumstances a year later. So, I mean, the
Yeah.
math on that is, you know,
They didn't want anyone talking.
right.
So you had some trouble with global governments, the coterie of businessmen and consultants who wanted to get a regime change op going in order to get contracts and resources out of Venezuela. They basically weren't paying you as you were doing the work. And so a figure named JJ Rendon enters the picture. He's sort of the super consultant
Weeb.
for the Latin American pro-US factions, the pro-US, more like right of center, right wing political factions. Very well paid person. And he comes forward with money for the contract. Juan Guaido's name is on this contract, which specified the goal of the operation to, quote, capture, detain, remove Maduro and the current regime from power and install Juan Guaido in its place. And you were offered a quote unquote success bonus of $10 million. And the total project cost was earmarked for something like, well, exactly $212.9 million. So was this the main source of funding for Operation Gideon? And did you ever receive the money from
No.
these figures?
Yeah. So, oh, sorry. Yeah. So Rendon, he essentially put a down payment. There was a retainer of 1.5 million. This essentially would have covered the first part of the operation, which was really just a link up. I had sent in an operative to do an OPE, an operational prep the environment, safe houses, you know, trucks, things of that nature. And this op was separate from the Gideon piece, right? This was kind of the op within the op. I had 3 boats ready to go to try to, do this. One was a civilian boat, different landfall locations, but coming back to it, I don't want to drill down too deep. It's a pretty
Yeah.
deep hole. So yeah, so
Pause.
give me the initial question again, Max. Sorry.
Essentially, where did the money come from and what was the role of Rendon
Right.
and
Did you
Guaido?
get paid?
So the initial price tag for a link up would have been well covered in 1.5. Um, that said, I needed to know that these individuals were serious because global governments they weren't able to get the contract signed. Global governments remained, but it was now I got the contract signed, and so they were more working under my contract. I wasn't necessarily a massive services contract holder, but I did hold the contract with the sitting president. This was very interesting for Keith Schiller and all of global governments, to include Mike Pompeo's lawyer, Travis Lucas, George Sorial, Donald Trump's lawyer, everybody in this power circle in DC that I had met right after I got the contract signed. The money was, I mean, I'm a Green Beret at heart. I'm a special operations guy. I will find the money, and I'm a business guy. I have to be able to traverse the tactical, the strategic, the logistic, the business, the political layers of any operation like this. And so I put my, I had investors, and we were able to piece together what we needed to do in order to move the operation forward.
Where?
And did you have any contact with Guaido or
I
Rendon?
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so absolutely. I had several meetings with Rendon in Florida. He insists that there's things in the contract. He says in the contract it says that they could cancel any time, but the contract clearly states that there's no cancellation for convenience. Furthermore, I never received an email to cancel any contract. I had a Zoom call. I recorded a secret phone call with Juan Guaido. And in that phone call, it's, basically there's a lawyer who, he facilitates the contract signing over Zoom. And you hear one guy who clearly signing the contract, several people in the room. And so I obtain the contract from the sitting president, or the recognized president in Venezuela. At that point, I mean, when I took that, the next day I had a meeting with several powerful people in the, the inner the inner circle, Trump's inner circle. After that contract was signed, a few hours later, I have this meeting in Trump Hotel, and then a few meetings after that, they have a meeting in the White House. So,
Wow. Okay,
yeah.
so speaking of the White House, you did have contact, according to these discovery documents, with the vice president's office. One name that comes up a lot is Drew Horn, who was a policy advisor to Vice
Dweeb.
President Mike Pence. And then you mentioned Travis Lucas, who was
Dweeb.
a lawyer working for Pence, and George Sorial, who was a
Three
lawyer for the Trump
dweebs.
organization. And I think,
Right.
yeah. So how did you make contact?
I'm sorry, audience. I'll replay that because I'm just yelling over the thing. I'll let it play. I apologize. They're fucking dweebs, though. Look at them. Here we go.
Name that comes up a lot is Drew Horn, who was a policy advisor to Vice President Mike Pence. And then you mentioned Travis Lucas, who was a lawyer working for Pence, and George Sorial, who was a lawyer for the Trump organization. And I think,
Right.
yeah. So how did you make
Fucking
contact
losers.
with the vice president's office, and what did the contact consist of?
Yeah, so global governments, this is the part that's really funny to me, Max, when certain journalists try to claim that I'm claiming tacit approval. The discovery, um, the discovery says otherwise. There was several meetings with me and this individual. This individual is well connected in DC. Horn. He is obviously, if you look where he is now, he's working on a project with Keith Schiller in Greenland through GreenMath. I mean, these individuals are very close. Um, it's no secret that was one of the first initiatives that the administration started when they took office this time around. Um, Travis Lucas is a Mike Pompeo lawyer. George Sorial, as you said, is the Trump lawyer in charge of Trump Foundation. And so these guys are the very trusted individuals in the circle. Furthermore, they wanted, not they, but one of those individuals wanted me to meet with the president, which I refused. I thought that was any president requires deniability. They require a
Oh my
certain
god.
level of distance from any operation of this. That said, I knew there was no doubt in my mind that I absolutely had approval to do this, that I was given the approvals by two individuals to do this. Um, and I'm a soldier as long as, the general doesn't have to come down and tell us, you're approved to the mission. We see individuals working in that entity, and um, we believe it if it's credible, and these individuals were credible. I had no reason to not believe what they were saying.
They're
I mean, that's insane. And also, I would expect that. I remember having an argument with James years ago, like years ago. And we were arguing about like I kept saying like this idea like, yeah, these guys do these things like, I mean, they're illegal, but they do them in a way on paper to where it looks legal. So it's like it basically is legal in a way. Right? Like they get contracts signed to overthrow countries. They just
Right.
they play with the paperwork up and down. They play with the law
What
up
it
and down.
is, they fragment it so that contract was not specifically to overthrow a government. That contract was one of 15 steps.
Yes, exactly. It's all compartmentalized. Yeah. And the president knows about it, but he can't have his name anywhere directly with it.
Right. I guess, and they were ignorant to his need for deniability, but he knew as an operative, no, I can't meet with the president.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean,
that's showing kind of ignorance on Trump's administration, or at least, or maybe even Trump, thinking he could meet with somebody doing that for him.
Well, but you can, and they would get away with it. It would just look really bad, right? It's just like Obama with
Well,
the whole RussiaGate thing.
that's why him as an
Yeah.
operative knew not to do that.
Yeah, it looks bad, but they could do it if they wanted to. It's just like Obama with RussiaGate, where he's meeting with his. Hold on, man. He's meeting with his intelligence people. Then all of a sudden, RussiaGate happens with the in regards to the Trump administration. Like we all know what happened there, but we can't actually say, in a courtroom, say we know, but we know, basically.
And with all that being said, and what this guy has said, it still provides Trump that deniability because there's no moment they can point to say, see, he did meet with him.
Yeah. Well, it's also about meeting with him. If he has direct handwritten note saying, do this thing here, yeah, there's something really bad, right? Like you're caught with something really bad. But yeah, I get what you mean. I get what you mean. It's not necessarily about him meeting him. It's more of like keep his hands clean in general for the entire operation. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then a little side note, because he brought up the name. I remember people back in 2015, 2016 say, the Clinton Foundation, the Clinton Foundation, the Clinton Foundation. Right? And a lot of these motherfuckers never asked, is there a Trump Foundation? And he skated by. And then you hear this guy bring it up. Interesting, huh?
Well, what is
What?
What is Trump Foundation?
Who fucking knows? The point is to ask the question.
Oh, okay. Oh.
And it's basically, I'm not going to say it's involved with this, but people that work in that are involved in this. Like advisors, people that go from the White House to the Trump Foundation to other private sector jobs that are all working in unison to fuck us over. All right, let's continue. Here we go.
Were credible. I had no reason to not believe what they were saying.
They were credible and they were high-level officials or connected to high-level officials in an official capacity. And
right, and it's not just that. It's when in the middle of this, I was sending several RFIs through this individual who these RFIs were reaching the highest levels, right? Because I was asking things like, I need to know if Juan Guaido has to, is he the guy? Because there's a lot of pushback on I was asking some very specific questions. Also, this individual who's working for the government was helping facilitate and get support for this operation. So, the whole task of that's like kind of ridiculous to me when I read the discovery.
And so another group enters the picture late 2019 or I don't know exactly when, but it's called Virtual Democracy. And they were pitching plans to Drew Horn, who was the policy advisor for Mike Pence. It was sent to one plan was sent to his White House email account on December 8th, 2019. And it basically spelled out ideas for toppling Maduro. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, there were several that individual is trying to find initiatives to get this done. When I first met with him,
who are you talking about?
Horn.
Okay.
Horn. He was incredibly excited that somebody was working on this. And I was obviously I was put in that position by global government. But he was ecstatic, and so we worked together for several months to try to push this forward. He gave me, he relayed authorization at the highest level that this was authorized, and things like, we don't care how bloody it is. When this is done, the money will flow. This is the exact quote, right? It's like. So I felt I was in good hands. This guy, he was greased into the national security council. I didn't trust him. He was a Green Beret. I had no reason to think that he was not who he said he was, and he was who he said he was. Yeah.
We don't care how bloody it is. When it's done, the money will flow. That's an exact quote. Is that in writing somewhere?
No, that's not writing. That's
something he told you verbally.
Which to me, I like I said before, I never want For me, the more elegant the plan, the simpler the plan, the easier it is to defend the counter coup piece, right? If there's lots of war and strife, and if it's a invasion, a counter coup is tougher because you create a lot of hard feelings. If it is as simple and as elegant as Maduro's generals flipping because they see um, Americans and we are a force of catalyst, it's much more seamless. And what's more is it's not so much a coup, it's just a country um, taking control of its own having agency of its own democratic process, I guess. Um,
It's still a coup, though.
And
the
and
moral
then,
implications of whatever.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I know that there's a lot of heartache with, and I'm certainly not a proponent of invasion for the purpose of regime change, just for you know uh, exploiting resources. I do think that in the case of Venezuela back then, there a case could be made, and certainly having talked to a lot of the locals and spending time with individuals, I do think the case could be made that a strong case could be made that there was a justification for um, removing Maduro in favor of fair and free elections. That said, the way you do it is equally as important as the fact, and sometimes more important as what happens after the fact. Does that make sense? Like I would never invade a country and impose. Um, I think that is.
Poor guy.
I think that's a slippery slope.
I mean, this seems to be relatively consistent. And this is why I make these statements about people in the military or ex-military, whatever, where I don't look at them as like, I fucking hate your guts, right? Fuck the military. I'm not like that. But I do think they get tricked they get tricked too much. Let's put it that way. And he sounds like a guy who also got fucking tricked. And what happens is these little dweeby little devil worshippers get people like this to do things for them because they can't fucking do it. They probably can't even plan the fucking thing, let alone execute it physically themselves. They trick guys like this to go in there and do things and make it sound about freedom and democracy and all that shit. Hey, it's incredible. And we stand for it. We fucking stand for it somehow. But, like, let's be honest right now. If the military ever wakes up to what their government's doing, like, and, like, this story alone, because he got personally attacked, right? With the whole maybe criminal case or whatever law case was going on with him, where he got these discovery documents. He was personally like persecuted. That's why he maybe knows more and is talking out against it. But like, imagine if all these motherfuckers knew about operations like this shit happening anywhere in the world, and that these little dweeby little fucks, these out of shape dweeby fucks, are telling them to do these things and tricking them into doing it. I mean, I would beg them, say, hey man, let's not be violent about this. You guys have probably seen enough violence in your life. Let's not be violent about this because these guys suffer things. Not necessarily this guy, but anyone. They suffer from PTSD. See people, drugs, alcohol, homelessness, suicide, just trauma throughout their lives because of bullshit reasons. And I can see, once again, I'm not hoping for this. I don't want this to happen, and I would stand in their way if I could. There'd probably be too many of them for one person, but I'd try anyways. Like, hey guys, don't fucking do this because they might get violent. I mean, I bring this up all the time about these like kind of archetypal people that believe they're out saving the world. That takes a certain tenacity to do that. Now, are they actually doing that? No. They're not actually saving the world. But they had the tenacity for it. And that, to me, is respectable. It's just these little fucks in suits trick a lot of them into doing things. And most likely, there's a lot of guys that are higher up, like within the military. They're like, yeah, I know they're doing dirt, they're doing bullshit. But you know what? It's a job. I'm following orders, whatever. Like they get too old or too long in the tooth to where they have the energy to care about it anymore. They just do it as a job. Why ruffle feathers here? Just fuck it, fall in line. I'm just saying. But all right, let's continue. I mean, I covered stories back then where the idea of these elections being rigged or whatever the fuck, according to studies, was not even the case. But to this day, this guy still believes that. Now, once again, it could be true. I don't fucking know. But honestly, he should be asking questions like, was that even, like, if they're willing to set up fucking drug operations with the CIA selling drugs in foreign countries and then probably bringing them back to the U.S., maybe they might lie about the elections being rigged or whatever in Maduro's favor. Maybe they lied about that. I'm just saying. Even to Venezuelan people, right? If you spread enough news and people don't realize where the source is, it could be the fucking CIA saying it. And then you can have people, regular citizens in Venezuela, believing that their elections are rigged. Did we not have that happen here? It's rigged. Didn't we have that here? Look at that. So, but all right, let's just keep playing. Here we go.
Well, this group Virtual Democracy was proposing that in the email that Drew Horn received at his official White House email account, they were calling for training up to 500 fighters at Camp Moyac in North Carolina, which is run by Eric Prince and his mercenary firm Academy, which used to be known as Blackwater. But that plan never went forward. Prince doesn't have anything in the works, to your knowledge.
Here's what I'll tell you about that. Like when you look at the strategic that and everything at the strategic briefs really well. I'm going to tell you that right now. When it comes down to the tactical level, 500 men versus a concentration of, say, oh, I don't know, 50,000 troops who have the run of a city, and pretty decent air support with their Sukhois versus Eric Prince's helicopters. I don't know that that would have ever scratched the paint. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Like the notion that I'm going to cowboy up with 60 dudes in fishing boats and somehow I'm going to E&E through, oh, I don't know, 100,000 regulars. We're going to, that's not realistic, right? What is realistic is what was supposed to happen, which was landfall of these two boats along the coast, low level operations, no skirmishing with the regular Venezuelan regulars, and then my civilian boat, making its way into a civilian marina in civilian clothes, meeting with, high level assets in Venezuela. That's an easy op, right? What Eric Prince was calling for, I don't see the viability of that. I don't know that it could have worked.
It's because he's a little man who has hopes and dreams of being Reacher someday. He wants, like, this Jordan Goudreau guy. He probably wants to be him. I want to be like that guy, but can't actually do it. So thus they try to tear and smash things to feel powerful because they have small peepees and they worship the devil. Anyways, let's continue.
Well, I want to cover that just
Small
a little
PP
bit
energy.
later, but first I want to ask you about another reference to the Operation Edgemont / Gideon plot, which took place during a meeting with Venezuelans' opposition and then Secretary of Defense Mark Esper, who ran the Pentagon for a period under the first Trump term. And in his memoirs, Esper said that one of Guaido's colleagues told him, quote, "We have some plans the U.S. government knows we are working on that aren't ready yet." And Esper said he left the meeting after the plans were brought up. So what do you make of Esper's admission? It seems to be the most high-level admission of foreknowledge and possible involvement by the Trump administration.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that when I read through the discovery, it is painfully obvious that the intelligence community knew, National Security Council, everybody in those councils knew. Furthermore, my prosecution is really a cover up. It's, the my prosecution was initiated from the national security component of the DOJ. Um, that component is
Interesting.
run by a guy named John Eisenberg. John Eisenberg was placed in the initial Trump administration as national security advisor by Michael Flynn, General Flynn.
Hmm.
John
One of the good
Eisenberg was
guys.
National Security Council. He was in the White House at the time. Keith Schiller was in the White House. So these two individuals were working together. Um, I don't like where I come from. That's a conflict
Dweeb,
of
by the way.
interest,
Another dweeb.
right? And although John Eisenberg did not initiate this prosecution, he certainly inherited it, and he certainly knows who I am. So
Yeah.
it's interesting stuff. I don't mean to get off track, but the connections in this are pretty alarming.
No, that is
Hmm.
alarming, and I wasn't aware of it before. So John Eisenberg was, or he is the U.S. Assistant Attorney General for the NSC. He was appointed or installed in that position in June 2025, and you said he's overseeing your prosecution.
Right.
And before
Right.
that, he was deputy counsel to Donald Trump himself, and he was a legal advisor to the NSC in Trump's first term. So
Right.
he was around, he was in the room with people who you say had direct knowledge of your plot, and now he's trying to basically put you in the slammer to shut you up.
Right. Seems that way. Um, Furthermore, to go back to the room
Interesting.
with Mark Esper,
Yeah.
the admission, because Claver Cardones was their national security advisor back then and now, I believe. He was in the room, so it is not out of the realm of possibility that the individual that Mark Esper is talking about is George Betancourt, because George Betancourt had made similar statements to me, and that is in black and white. So that
George
is
Betancourt being someone you described as a CIA asset, someone who was
correct.
coordinating between the opposition and US intelligence.
Correct. Right.
And so you had these backers within global governments initially, then Rendon signs a contract with you. Did you have any potential backers for the day after in the event of a success that would seek Venezuelan resources and contracts in Venezuela the day after Maduro?
Yes, absolutely. This was global governance, right? And
Okay.
so once this moves forward, and then so the tranche of money, which was the promise by Horn, and I think you saw back then, I think the bounty was probably 15 million. And if I might, the that would have probably hit the account pretty quickly. The big fear of somebody like me is if obviously the if everything goes to plan and we are not sabotaged by the intelligence agency and the Venezuelan opposition. Maduro and his guys, they flee the country, captured whatever it is, but this is the point where in a coup where you have to defend against the counter coup. I needed men on the ground. I needed Americans on the ground. And this would be the security component. I needed armed Americans who were trained to a high level, special operations level, on the ground, 60 or so, in order to help defend against the counter coup.
Yeah.
Furthermore, these individuals would have worked by, with, and through the local militaries, the assets that I had previously described these individuals. So my men would have pieced into these units and essentially helped maintain law and order, and bring about fair and free elections in, I don't know, say a year or so, depending. Obviously, after humanitarian aid is restored or is orders restored, humanitarian aid has been distributed.
That sounds so healthy. I love it.
Okay, it sounds
Democracy,
like a
guys.
harebrained scheme from my point of view. It sounds like it never had any chance of success. And you've described a potential larger operation of trained mercenaries in the US as something that wouldn't even scratch the paint of the
No.
Venezuelan military, which is, they have some fairly well trained regulars. Caracas is encircled with various layers of security. There are air defenses. They have an air force. They're able to compete with the Colombian military. So why
Sure.
would you have thought that your operation would have succeeded? Why did you, in your own words, cowboy up with just a small detachment of men?
So I think you're missing it, Max. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was doing. Do you understand?
Explain.
Yeah.
I think he was saying he had assets, right? That he turned these generals that he turned in his favor, and then once the coup actually starts, these guys would have command of the military, and they would just kind of like quietly walk off. These Maduro and his two other guys that he named, right?
AKA stand down, also known as stand down.
And then the
Like the
other,
generals would order, no, let what's going to happen to Maduro and his close cabinet of people
yeah,
get caught up, and we're not going to defend them.
yeah. Basically, these generals return will take over, and where he wants 60 of his guys that he knows armed and working within within their military to stop any type of riot type shit or counter coups, if you will. People loyal to Maduro. All right, I think he's gonna say that.
Yeah.
Trying to kind of make sure I understood what he was saying as well. But here we go.
Okay, so what I'm saying is it would have been harebrained if, yeah, we go in with 60 dudes. That's not possible. This is the counter coup. Do you understand? We're in a different phase at this point.
Okay.
Hypothetically, right? So hypothetically, if my units are alerted, I make my link up, and Maduro's the high level assets activate Venezuelan regulars. These Venezuelan regulars now take care of Maduro, Cabello, and Tariq. These guys are now off the table, but there's an element of chaos, right? And so what I'm saying is I now need to establish some semblance of order. I need to establish a junta. I need a leadership, a group of leaders that can govern a country without leadership. This is where I bring in 60 Americans just for security. They're not fighting anybody. They're basically tying in with Venezuelan regulars, and they're going to essentially work by with and through these regulars. The hard part's done essentially. There's no fighting, right? Nobody's fighting anybody. Furthermore, we establish
He
this
thinks.
junta in order to bring about some semblance of leadership and fair and free elections. Does that you tracking?
Yeah. I mean, this is your theory on the operation and how it would
No.
ideally play out.
This is evidenced by, I mean, this is essentially what they did in Bolivia, right? And this is largely we're just there. We're not there to
He's talking
govern
about
or do anything. We're not conducting
what was that
military
guy that
operations. We're
said
working.
what was the
Evo
guy that goes
Morales.
in and
Oh,
he
okay.
wrote a book,
Economic Hitman.
Economic Hitman. It
John
sounds very similar
John Perkins.
of walking through those ideas.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically like a
Sure.
jackal, right? And if you
Yeah.
follow the economic hitman kind of story or metaphor or whatever,
Yeah.
he's like the jackal, I think. And then I think the last step, if they didn't go with
No,
the
by title.
jackals, it's straight up military shit. Like, we're gonna fuck you up,
Right.
now.
But you've heard today's news about we're like amping up with Venezuela.
With
This
what with
comes out
Venezuela?
now.
The boats in Venezuela?
We're amping up. We're amping up. There's something else today too, next level kind of thing. But anyway, so now that this interview's made public, I'm guessing Maduro has a way of finding out about this interview and then like tightening down. And then that would also encourage Trump to either back down or speed up timetable.
Dude,
And then
Maduro's been
be
saying
more-
shit this whole time. He's been saying shit this entire time. Has that stopped what they've been doing? He's been bringing up
No, no.
stories that are
No,
on paper
no.
proven of what the U.S. has done in other countries. Did that stop anything? No.
No, and it wouldn't. That's not what I was saying.
Oh, okay. What are you saying?
So I was saying, like, he would tighten down on his security, like, and try to squash more stuff. Like, make you loyal, you loyal, you loyal, you loyal, that kind of stuff.
You can always
But anyway,
you can always trust me that he's already doing that, and already was doing that because they've seen the history of coups in South America, just South America alone. They have so many stories and
Okay.
incidents that they know about already. So yeah, he's already trying to
Okay.
make sure loyalty and all that shit. Okay.
okay. But with this coming out, it also is Trump's gonna see it and be like, okay, maybe there's some information that Maduro's received by listening to this, because you know he's gonna somehow get to where at least his government's gonna be able to listen to this. Maybe take some little side piece hints, clues, and like evaluate it and put it
Yeah.
into defensive measures.
Like-
So this speeds Trump up is more than likely, because I doubt he's backing down. And when you speed it up, it gets sloppy.
Well,
And then it becomes
it's already
a whole
sloppy.
fucking mess.
It's already a sloppy operation. They're just blowing up boats in the middle of the ocean. I think today we found out the first name or first identification of a person today. The first one out of, I think, 27 people killed. We just found out one person,
that's-
who one person was, and they weren't even Venezuelan.
It's not on the grand scheme of things.
Either,
27.
either way, Maduro is probably going to see this directly. An advisor of Trump is probably going to see this and then tell him about it and tell him what to do about it, basically.
Right.
And the actual admiral of Southern Command actually stepped down. He stepped down because of the crazy shit. Yesterday, I believe, he stepped down because of like how crazy the orders are being. Like they're already sloppy. Pause. Already, they're already there, and this guy already stepped down. He's like, nope. I want nothing. I do not want my picture on the front page of whatever crazy shit they're trying to do. So he stepped down. Imagine if that guy whistle blew. Oh my dear lord. Because you don't just do that. Like, if that guy truly believed that those people on the boats were fucking straight up narcos, right? Drug dealing terrorist guys, he would have no problem blowing them up. He's a military dude, right? But something tells me that he found out that they're not actually that. That most of them are not actually that. We're just killing random people willy-nilly. And he's like, you know
That's
what?
an assumption.
I
That's a huge assumption.
But why else would he step down? Like, logically, why would he step down? Remember,
he'd
he's
have
a
no problem
military
with
guy.
like doing war action, right? But if
He made it to fucking
it
admiral,
was something
right?
more illegal, then he might have a problem.
Yeah,
Like,
he made it to...
why did he resign? He just
There's probably 12 to 52 reasons why an admiral would step down in regards to an amping up of a war with another country.
Admiral Halsey had raised concerns about the mission and the attacks on the alleged drug boats.
like
Now, that's
like,
according to the New
this
York
is-
Times, so it could be bullshit, but I'm just saying.
Okay.
it's like your whole career. Like this is what you dedicated your career to, and when it's getting hot, you leave. You think there's probably a reason, right?
Yeah. This fool did not want to see this picture, but the headlines say, U.S. caught killing random civilians in the middle of the fucking ocean. Here's the man responsible and his fucking picture there. He can probably see that as a possibility. He's like, I'm out of here, bro. Get the fuck out of here. And this is one of the highest positions, right? You can be in, like an admiral. Isn't it like a pretty high up ranking? I can see all the fucking shit on his fucking chest, all the pins and
U.S.
shit.
Military Southern Command. They're in charge of basically all
There's
of
three.
South America, Latin America,
There you go. And he's like,
There's,
I'm
there's
out of
three
here.
commands.
including the Caribbean.
Yeah,
Like when
there's
they
three
do
commands.
Haiti, that goes there. They're based out of South Florida.
There's
He's like, I'm
Pacific
outta here.
Command. There's Pacific Command. There's Southern Command. There's North Command.
That is CENTCOM. is also-
Northcom.
CENTCOM is one as well.
CENTCOM is Southern Command.
That's Central Command. That's what Petraeus was head of before he left that and joined the CIA back in Obama's administration, I believe.
I thought it meant like Central America.
No, Central. Yeah, CENTCOM.
That's Southern Command.
Southern Command. Yeah, that guy's the head of Southern Command. That's
Okay.
like
So, but
Global
there's
South or
very
whatever.
few commands. There's like 4 or 5 maybe at most.
Either way, like he's very high up, and he knows his picture might be on the front fucking page. If one day they start making documentaries and find out, well, this guy wasn't a drug dealer. This guy wasn't a drug dealer. This guy's not even Venezuelan. This guy's not Venezuelan. Like, and he's like, his name and face is all over. He's like, nope, I'm out of here. Fuck out of here. He did exactly what the black guy does in the horror movie. Wait, there's a guy with a chainsaw out there with a mask on? Yeah, I'm out of here. The white guys go investigate.
Not how that works. The black guy runs away and he still dies.
No, we're in a new era, Dubster. The black guy just gets away. They just run away and they're out of there.
Well, this era sucks.
Yeah, all right. Let's continue. Here we go.
Is essentially what they did in Bolivia, right? And this is largely we're just there. We're not there to govern or do anything. We're not conducting military operations. We're working kind of like you're trained to do, right? In any, I guess, special operation capacity for a Green Beret, which is you train, advise, and assist, like the Iraqis, right? So in Iraq, Green Beret units will work by, with, and through Iraqi units. So in Venezuela, it would have been similar, but much easier because you have generals who have now removed Maduro, Tariq, and Cabello. A temporary leadership has been established. And so now it's, we have to basically survive 3 months of potential counter coups. The way we do that is we essentially try to align the existing military under the temporary leadership.
Okay, and you're coming in on fishing boats.
No, these are different. Max, those are a different group of people.
So how you were going to come in on land secretly and link up with some sort of
no, this is
generals.
So let's go back. So the first part of the operation is a link up. This is the 60 people in boats, right? And then a small boat with Americans. The American contingent with some Venezuelans gets off in a marina, and it's basically just a link up. We're linking up with assets in Venezuela who have task and maneuver units. Powerful people who are embedded with Maduro. Does that make sense?
I mean, it doesn't make sense to me because I've been to Venezuela several times and I kind of have seen a picture of the society that I don't think was well understood or is well understood by the U.S., which is that Maduro has a large base of support and that the war for Venezuela is basically a class war. It's basically the middle class and the upper class want to oust Maduro, and then you have masses of people who literally weren't on the map before Maduro's predecessor, who was elected. He didn't just steal power. Hugo Chavez. They support him, and the military largely comes from that element and is supported despite heavy sanctions and is supportive of the broader structure of what they call the Bolivarian Revolution, which has used oil wealth to benefit the population and the military. I mean, the military prior to Chavez was just sort of a neo-colonial military. It was not as formidable. So why would you or anyone around you have thought that you could dislodge key leadership in the military? For example, um, the defense minister
Oh no.
from this power structure. Like it never made sense to me. It doesn't seem like there's this popular ferment for an armed revolution in which Americans would come in and advise. It seemed more like, from an outsider's perspective, you were coming in there with the idea that you and a group of Green Berets could actually fight your way to Caracas.
No, that is not what the plan was.
I mean, you were grabbed by fishermen, so I'm kind of
Yeah,
questioning
no. I
the
think there's a
thinking
lot of
here.
confusion. So I think
Um,
there's some confusion for you about what the plan was.
I'm talking about the
That
reality versus, and how the plan kind of ran up against the hard rocks of reality, which
Well,
you
I
may
think
not
the
have
plan
understood.
ran up against, yeah, I think the plan ran up against the hard rocks of the CIA sabotage, right? It's like when you have people in boats who are giving your GPS coordinates, right? It's that this is the reality of it. The people in Venezuela, I mean, it's great to say that, Maduro has a lot of support. He does. That said, there were generals that were very close to him that were not aligned with him, right? This was
he's saying he does
obviously
have support.
infiltrated from the
Yeah.
beginning. And so I understand that, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it wasn't that hard to sell. Like Maduro was terrified of getting bombed by the US. He was watching these Iranian generals, and I was well placed. I had access to all three of those individuals. And to be perfectly honest, it would have worked fine if we had our link up, because ultimately, back then, the belief near Maduro was that US invasion was imminent, or some action was imminent. And so it's not that hard. It's a pretty simple, it's happened several times throughout history. You get access and placement to people
Human
around the king,
condition of
and those
survival.
people are the ones who do the
Yeah.
heavy lifting.
And
It's
who were
not,
the generals?
Yeah. It's it's kind of like this guy defending his own plan. Like it smelled like a little bit of pride about it. Like, yeah, it would have been perfect, but someone sabotaged it. The CIA did, or something like that. And Max is like, this was never gonna work, man. Like foolhardy fucking plan.
Well, Max is also coming from like thinks Maduro like doing a good thing for Venezuela,
Yeah, he
and he's
probably
like
has
he's
some
all into
favoritism
it.
towards him for sure. I think there's a
Yeah.
favoritism.
So
Yeah.
he's like, and now he's asking who are the generals? Like, why?
There's no way he could say that,
I
right?
mean, if he did, it'd be like exploiting future operations. If they wanted to still do it, like you're telling,
I
so
say
then
good.
Maduro would be like, oh, I want to clean out these generals. I want to replace these generals if he names some of them.
My guess is those guys already escaped their way out of there, possibly. Like, I mean, I would if I was one of them, right? And these guys get caught on on the shores of Venezuela, right? Like, meaning like, okay, a coup was like about to happen, and they're not doing that without some sort of higher up reassurances, right? So those guys would probably be like, oh fuck, it failed. All right, we'll secretly sneak out of here somehow. In which
Or
case,
maybe they're
he'd be able
like,
to say
they
their
got
names
caught.
possibly.
They got caught. I'm in no danger. I could still help replace Maduro. They come around again. Our new group comes around again. So I'll stay around because I love my country. So two
Okay.
different mentalities, possibilities. For
Okay,
that.
but the ideas this guy's talking about, the idea that the Jordan Goudreau guy's talking about is that these guys don't want to die. So, and they're worried
Right.
about actual attacks from the U.S., which is happening right now, by the way.
Right.
So, thus, hey, if this thing works out, yeah, we'll turn on them and start over, start something else, start a new election, whatever the fuck.
You got to think about, like, okay, who's in Venezuela and who's not in Venezuela, right? Like, so, like capitalism or people who were wealthy were basically they were taking all their assets anyway, so they left, right? And so
Yeah.
people who are there, as Max was saying, they initially benefited from this, and then um, and so that's how
Chavez.
the relationship began, right? Now,
Yeah.
I Max is extremely biased, right? So so that's one part of like listening to him on this, but
Right.
at the same time, like, we hear what this guy was doing, and when Max says, like, they have a lot of support, that wouldn't work. The other guy who was trying to make that happen, he acknowledges that they do have a lot of support. He's, and
Oh
when he
yeah.
says that they have some people inside that, um, he's saying some people, like, there's individuals. He's talking about individuals versus what's the norm, right? And
Right.
these
Yeah.
individuals, if they get support from the U.S. and they're basically trying to sell them, right? Like, the U.S. is trying to sell them, hey, you guys uh, are on the inside. You guys are going to be the new leaders, right? So they're pitching them
Right.
like this, dream, which may work. That it could be, but that's what they're doing with them. They're playing them that way.
Yeah.
But it's interesting
Right.
that he acknowledged that Maduro does have support, because, if Max says it, like, who knows? But the other guy who's there, he's seeing that too.
Yeah. But
Right.
you have to look at it. My guess would be it's more about fear, and that's multiple pronged fear here. There's obviously direct military action where they can get killed because they're higher up generals, right? Get killed by bombs and shit like that, right? Then there's the economic part, which has been happening, right? Where just because this name and face called Maduro is the leader, they have been shit on economically by Western countries. Straight up. They've been subverting them for years and years now. And they're like, you know what? We're tired of this. Let's just replace Maduro so that they stop fucking with us. And yeah, sure, there'll be more poor. The poor people will suffer more or some shit like that. They won't get as much of the nationalized oil and all that shit. But it's better than what these guys are doing to us. They're literally withholding massive amounts of money from Venezuela, like massive amounts. They're holding it back from them, and it's like, like, fuck it. If you guys make it to shore and this all works out, we will safely and securely try to replace Maduro. Although there's going to be incidences, right? There's going to be flare ups. There's going to be people pissed off. There's going to be people loyal to Maduro, on and so forth. But the idea was have a relatively safe transition, and we can go back to just living regular lives, even though, I would think economically they'd, like, the kind of levels of equality through the country would suffer, right? Or the idea of the equality would
But-
suffer.
And you also got to think about other things in history, like Caesar. The people love Caesar, but the Senate, not even all the Senate, a handful of them just literally stabbed him to death in the Senate.
Yeah, but it's like,
They got together and they said, we got our reasons. We believe our reasons. One of the reasons being he ended republic. It became a dictatorship, an empire. So we're going to kill
yeah,
him
it sounds
by
less.
stabbing him to
I think those guys understand why Maduro's moving the way he's moving with security and the economics. It's because they know that these countries are shitting on them or trying to kill these people. Like, I think they're aware of why that's happening. But if they get Maduro out, they might stop doing that. So you know what? Let's just do that. It's like, if the opportunity has its chance, we'll take it. It saves our lives, and these guys will stop fucking with us. They might even try to help us, for all we know. But in reality, it's for U.S. corporations to carve up the country, and it's for the administration's friends that are in private business that can carve up the country and build McDonald's everywhere. Right? That's kind of the actual seeming goal from these guys. But all right, let's keep going. Here's more. Here's Max's response to that. Here we go.
I'm not gonna
Uh,
simple. It's happened several times throughout history. You get access and placement to people around the king, and those people are the ones who do the heavy lifting.
And
There he
It's
does. He
not-
said, I'm not
who
going
are
to
the
tell you the
generals?
generals. Oh,
I'm
Oh.
not gonna. These people have families.
So
I gotta ask.
it was
though.
said that
Come on, guy.
Alcala's fighters had been infiltrated by Venezuelan intelligence, and that's how they knew you were coming. But you're
Yeah,
saying, let me just clarify something. You said that the
sure.
CIA actually gave up your coordinates.
That's right.
Can you tell me
Absolutely.
more about that?
Yeah. So there was communication between Lester Toledo and George Betancourt's, I guess, their compatriots in the camps. And obviously they're reaching back to DNI, but there were conversations between DNI and men in the camps.
Why is this guy talking? Is he a whistleblower?
Okay.
I missed the beginning.
So
He's on. He's being prosecuted for some sort of crime. I don't even know the crime, honestly. Maybe it has something to do with this, and
Oh,
maybe he feels screwed over, as in like they're going after me to shut me up. So in the
oh.
So
the
fucking
discovery documents, right, during a trial, during discovery in a trial, right, he's pulling from that to say what actually happened. Right, he probably
I
already
can't
My
knows,
believe
job.
but
he
he
got
used that
discovery.
as actual documents.
I can't believe he got discovery on this. That's fucking crazy to me.
But it's not supposed. Once again, he's not supposed to officially be like an intelligence operation, right? It's supposed to be
Whatever,
a
dude. They
private group.
disappear people. They disappear people all the fucking time. You never have a fucking public trial on fucking all kinds of things. How'd this guy get fucking discovery?
Maybe they're not worried about it. Maybe this guy, because of his experience, is too slick or intelligent for them to just take him
It
out.
just it's 150 other questions that they let him fucking have discovery. Like they deny fucking normal average Joe people fucking discovery.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe this guy talking like this is part of a fucking bullshit scheme. Who fucking knows? Who
I
knows? But that
it
was
just doesn't. It's a question. It's a huge fucking question.
that's fair enough. All right, let's continue. Here we go.
Nicolas Maduro, like the Maduro regime, they didn't have to do anything. They just had to, have their Coast Guard go to the right place at the right time. It wasn't the Maduro regime who infiltrated us. It was the intelligence community of, Venezuela opposition / CIA.
And why would they do that?
Okay. And why did they want to sell you out? Because they did not like Alcala and they wanted to be the ones leading the operation down the road? Or
I
was
mean,
there
maybe
another
at the
reason?
I think maybe at the tactical level for the Venezuelans, but they were getting a lot of money back then through USAID. I mean, billions. And this is evidenced by the lawsuit that's going on right now with Juan Guaido in Delaware. So the CIA obviously has other interests. They were not interested in removing Maduro. They were more than happy to drag their feet. They didn't want to.
Pause.
That's hard to make. That's hard to make sense based on
Is
everything
he
he said.
saying Trump and CIA were at odds with each other? Is that where he's going? Deep state against Trump?
You could mess up their drug business. That would be it.
I mean, what he's saying is, which doesn't make sense to me. He's saying if it's Trump versus the deep state, it's more like the deep state versus the CIA, because that would make Trump the deep state. If he's trying to overthrow them and the CIA stop him from doing that, wouldn't that be like right?
No, because he's operating from like Trump's doing is what I'm doing, and I agree with it because I'm doing it. So he's saying CIA is deep state.
Yeah, but Trump and his people and whoever want to overthrow it and put Juan Guaido as the leader or whatever other person as the leader. And then this guy's also saying CIA stopped them from doing that. That's also working with Guaido and all this. Like this, I'm kind of lost on this because everything he said in this video says that they were all in unison. We're gonna take this shit over. We're gonna overthrow the country. Like everything in the
Okay.
fucking entire video has been pointing in that direction. Like they helped them set all this stuff up, right? From the private groups of the global governments or whatever the fuck to people high up in the Trump administration that he's directly dealt with that are telling him like how to do these things and make him sign contracts and all this shit. He signed a contract with Juan Guaido, or Juan Guaido signed a contract that's also involved in this whole deal. So it's like, and now what happened? They pulled the plug on it and they're like, all right, we need to shut this down now. And for what reason?
Not Guaido, right? Like
Yeah,
he's out,
Guaido.
right? Oh, I thought they.
No,
I thought he was out.
no, he is out. I'm saying this is from the first administration, the first Trump administration,
okay.
where this
Got it.
operation went down.
Yeah, this was 2019, right? Is that what they're
I
saying?
don't remember the exact year, but yeah, he might have said that. I just know it was during the first administration. And then Mark Esper actually timelines it to at least after 2018. Like if he was like
Guaido was
around,
officially like the president, according to the U.S. for a time.
but oh yeah, exactly. They showed us a document in here where it's like the official president of Venezuela.
To recognize,
Yeah,
Bestowed by the US.
official president.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to understand. Like, was it other elements of the CIA that was like white hat, black hat type of shit? Like, what does he mean by that? Because once again, everything he said has leaned in the direction that these guys are all aligned. CIA drug dealing to the president naming the guy a drug dealer to
Till now.
infiltration
Yeah.
to boosting up this Juan Guaido guy and on and so forth. And then all of a sudden, I guess they're like, all right, we're not doing this plan.
It makes sense if the CIA is still in the drug business. Then it makes sense. They're like, hey,
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been saying that without even any documentation. I've just been saying it because, like, come on. I'm not stupid.
Right. And he's saying U.S. aid was involved in this. And that's how they were paying Venezuela for something.
He said USAID was.
Yeah.
I could believe it. And you know, companies like Voice of America and shit like that. Those guys have been running them up in there.
You want to re-listen to the last 20 seconds, I think. Right.
Okay.
I just want to hear it again.
Yeah. And I want to hear them kind of like, okay, why would the CIA do that? So here we go.
Okay. And why did they want to sell you out? Because they did not like Alcala and they wanted to be the ones leading the operation down the road? Or was there
maybe
another
at the
reason?
I think maybe at the tactical level for the Venezuelans, but they were getting a lot of money back then through USAID. I mean,
Okay.
it was,
There you go.
I mean, billions. And this is evidenced by the lawsuit that's going on right now with Juan Guaido in Delaware. So the CIA obviously has other interests. They were not interested in removing Maduro. They were more than happy to drag their feet. They didn't want to. Closing the embassy, Mike Pompeo, I mean, basically made it impossible to close
Okay,
the
he did say
embassy or it made it impossible for the CIA to operate out of Caracas, which is typically how something like that would be done. They
Yeah.
would have done the exact same thing I did. If the CIA was going to flip the country, they would have done exactly what I did. They would have gotten close to, generals close to Maduro, Cabello, Tariq. Do you understand? Like,
I
as
mean, my
harebrained as
understanding is they
that-
tried to do that. Many Venezuelan officials have come
They
out
didn't.
and said that they were offered loads of money to flip. I've interviewed one who said basically his family was being blackmailed to get him to flip. Venezuelan generals, some of them have flipped. So this was going on. But you're saying
It
that,
was.
but what was missing from the CIA's plan, or did they not actually seek regime change at that point?
They absolutely did not seek regime change. I mean, this is evidenced by the fact that the embassy was closed down. And so because they weren't seeking regime change, I mean, that why else would the president or the president's inner circle come to me? So what I'm telling you,
So
like the
you're saying
plan that
deep
I
state
came up with.
CIA is different than Trump's administration. He is saying that.
On this, at least, on this case,
Hmm.
I believe, or that's what he's saying. Uh,
Hmm.
so it was the Trump administration wanted to overthrow Maduro, and the CIA was like, but I'm trying to find a reason for why they wouldn't do that. Like I'm trying to just mentally think of something, and I don't quite understand. It could have been maybe lack of involvement. Like because Max sounds confused as well. He's like, is it because they didn't have their hands in the their fingerprints on the gun or something? Like they want to be directly involved or something? Or like what do they have going on in there? Are they making too much money and they needed more
maybe
money?
maybe there's a value of keeping Venezuela uh, in the power situation is maybe the economics of like
Yeah,
maybe they like that it's communist. There's a benefit to that to the CIA.
maybe
I don't know. I have no idea. Like maybe it's because they've nationalized the oil that somehow works for our country.
it could be the drug operation. Honestly, it's like we get good like black market money shit from doing this. We're trying to fund other operations in other places, so we want to keep this operation going or
Right.
whatever.
And
Like who
to
knows?
me, Venezuela was never known for drugs until fucking what we say
Right.
China was giving them fentanyl.
I,
Whenever we
Uh,
started saying that,
yeah, exactly. They're not so, but they seem to have transitioned. At some point, they transitioned into that, whether we were aware or not.
yeah,
And yeah, that this is actually a signal that is happening, or that they have worked through there, because obviously it used to be more known through like Colombia in the past, right? Like that used to be the main
right?
channel.
yeah. Saying it maybe like, huh? Because didn't like recently, like a recent story that Trump is telling the CIA that they need to do this in regards to Venezuela. Like they need to
But
gather intelligence, infiltrate, whatever the fuck. Like he openly called for that for the CIA to do that. Or are they working back
is they
together
aren't
again?
listening to him? Is he
I-
calling for it public because they aren't listening to him privately in private
Yeah,
conversations?
that's what
Maybe.
it sounds like.
So it's it's the CIA is stopping a country from being overthrown. And-
He did the same thing. He did the same thing with the Fed chair, Powell. He's like, he had private conversations with me with him. Is my guess, and then he wouldn't do what he wanted him to do. So he's like, dude, I need you to lower the interest rates. Like, made a public thing, and then Jim Powell's like, I'm still not fucking doing it. And then eventually, like a month ago or so, he announced he's going to reduce it 0.25%. So, like, that's kind of a Donald Trump tactic: is I'll talk to you privately, but if you don't do what I fucking say, I'll make the public like turn against you.
AKA Candace Owens. The, the Candace squeeze. Pause.
I'm the boss, motherfucker. That kind of action.
But that's just like, that's crazy though. Isn't that crazy?
Well, I'm just thinking of because I don't really know how this stuff works, right? But I got a picture. Like, let's say if you're the president and you have the CIA, they're all over the world collecting information, right? Like they're getting information, but they're also like maybe you can request information. You can say, okay, well, let me know about this or that. But they have like having the information gives you so much control of like even what you provide, right? Like
Yeah.
you can withhold
Right.
information, or you could say, hey, this is critical, or they're moving on this. This is an opportunity. We can do something right here. If you're interested, like basically how you structure the narrative within the information that you provide, the same as you can do when you provide data. um, Gives you a whole lot of control, like not maybe the final decision maker, but it
Actually,
is a lot of power in how you can influence things.
okay, but actually, I just remembered. I think you guys are actually incorrect about this because
Okay.
he appointed the CIA head, John Ratcliffe, who's loyal to Trump. So he already has that.
Still,
He already
there
has
could still be some
the.
underlings.
First
There could be
administration
some
or now?
underlings that are following John
Oh, I'm a
Ratcliffe.
fucking idiot.
And
No. Wait, I'm not an idiot. In this new administration, John Ratcliffe is his CIA guy.
New.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
new
It
CIA
sounded
guy.
like the started was in the first administration. You said?
This whole story of the whole coup attempt by the Green Beret guys, that was the first administration. But Trump announcing I'm getting the CIA on the Venezuela, that's in this administration, this second term. And that's a recent announcement he
Okay.
made, and it's John Ratcliffe who is loyal to Trump. At least on paper he is.
Okay.
So that'd be a different scenario. But this past one, I mean, I want to hear more answers to this. Like why they I don't think he's given a sufficient answer yet, right? We're kind of just guessing. But he might not know either, right? He just might know that the CIA stopped it somehow. Even though Max, talking to Venezuelans, said, oh no, we found out and we stopped it. So it's kind of a... He's got to give us more information. Otherwise, we're just lost in the woods at this point, right? But here we go. Let's keep playing.
I mean, that why else would the president or the president's inner circle come to me? So what I'm telling you, like the plan that I came up with, I didn't come up with it. This has had a long history of
Success.
use over the last, whatever, decades.
Tackles.
It's pretty simple. You just get people close to the king and you have them do the work. It's their country. That said, the CIA was never interested in regime change. And if you look at kind of what's happening now in the news, I don't know that they are now, right? And so what is incentivizing them at the highest level? Well, they obviously have some sort of apparatus, whether it's the drug trade or whatever. I mean, there's a reason they don't want to facilitate change in Venezuela, unless
Okay.
now they are aligned with the Trump administration, which I'm not sure.
Okay, so he's guessing. Like, right, that was one of my big guesses. Was for the past actions was the drug, the money, right? And it funds other operations. It is Iran Contra again, but it's probably happening in a lot more places around the world than we even know about. But okay, he's kind of guessing too. And then Max has his interviews to fall back on of where he thinks things are, or why things are happening. That was, I guess, it was the Venezuelan intelligence that found out and then stopped it, thwarted the fucking plan or whatever. But okay, I guess we're just gonna be, and we don't even know if that was actually the case, if the CIA actually did stop. Like, so we're just kind of lost, I guess, on this portion. But all right, let's continue. Here we go.
Well, there's been competing factions. I mean, you can see it play out through the conflict between Rick Grenell, who wants to negotiate with Venezuela and reap, oil deals with the U.S. The New York Times reported Venezuela was willing to give up contracts with China and Russia in exchange for better relations with the U.S. And then you have Marco Rubio representing South Florida, who wants to go for the full regime change and it seems to be using the drug war as cover. They're escalating from attacking fishing boats, many of them heading to Trinidad and Tobago, supposedly with cocaine, basically extrajudicially executing alleged drug traffickers on the high seas, to Donald Trump's pledge at Quantico to attack Venezuela on land, supposedly to attack cartels, who they now identify as narco terrorists. They're using a sort of terrorism designation. So this really does signal a major escalation. It's said that Grenell is isolated and Rubio's basically taken charge of the policy. And Maria Corina Machado is supposed to be the U.S. asset that will come into power after Maduro and grant quote unquote democracy / contracts to Trump connected businessmen on the day after. She just got the Nobel Peace Prize. What are your thoughts on this whole operation? Does this make sense to you? And are they really aiming at installing Maria Corina Machado? I guess I'm just generally
Macchiato.
seeking your thoughts on it.
I think you have, I mean, listen, that briefs really well. Um, but to be perfectly honest, the only reason my plan would have worked is because of the connections that I developed close to the Maduro camp, and Cabello and Tariq.
You were
Um,
talking to individuals,
if that
and
is not done and
they
that
had
is
their
not
reasons to
established,
portray
then it's
Hold on.
Maduro.
invasion. Camp,
Hold on.
and Cabello and Tariq.
He's saying they
Um,
don't have that in place now, maybe.
if that is not done and that is not established, then it's invasion.
Yeah.
It's invasion. There's nothing else. So,
And then it would be just a bloodbath and another migration wave to the north.
right. And how do you justify that, right? Like, how do you justify a country invading a much smaller country, much weaker country? Although we did it in Iraq,
He doesn't
Afghanistan,
see it.
and we went there for the resources too. Um, but
That's wrecking my mind.
And you
I
participated
think
in
he sees
both of
it.
those wars. And you saw
sure,
you felt the moral injury, presumably, of those wars.
so I think it's there's several merits to. I'm a soldier, right? So at the strategic level, um, or sorry, at the tactical level, I understand that the certain component of the United States is always going to look down on soldiers. I totally get that. But at the end of the day, we're really the only people who are going to defend this country against anybody. And so as a soldier, we go where we're sent and we win where we fight. Um,
Oh,
to
defense.
disparage soldier is, um, it's easy to do that in a time of peace or when when we're taking part in actions that aren't popular. Obviously, with Iraq,
Popular, huh?
we were there too long. In Afghanistan, we were there way too long, right? One of my old units, so 5th Special Forces Group, we won Afghanistan in 6 weeks. We teamed up with the Northern Alliance and we actually decimated the enemy. That said, we moved in after the fact in order to facilitate big business, and large
Decimated the
contracts.
enemy.
But what remains are the soldiers. We still have to fight and we still have to defend and fight side by side and protect each other, no matter how demonized we are by certain American people. I much see
He's
Venezuela in a
still in
similar
it.
light. So you have told me that you have met with some of these men and whatnot, but so have I. One of the individuals I met was tortured for 2 years. Another individual I met, who was a captain, he was tortured as well for much longer. And so when you tell me that, well, that Nicolas Maduro and the regime,
That makes sense,
they're kind
guys.
of the good guys, I have to be honest with you. There's really no good guys in this. The Maduro regime is a very brutal dictatorship. The opposition government are equally, if not more brutal. And in my estimation, it's really the people who I was seeking to help and defend when I decided to do this initiative. And the way I did that, obviously, was to remove all of the bad actors from the equation. Um,
Bruh.
Maduro being one of them, but also, uh, obviously, I had to work with Guaido, but he was not trusted and he was not liked.
How many ways has he said kill people?
I do the best I can, right? And that's what I tried to do with Venezuela. I do not think it was at all harebrained. I think you are completely misunderstanding the intent of the operation. It is nuanced, but I do think nowadays, I don't know how anybody can trust
He had
the
a
fact
belief,
that Maria
and he made
Corina
a
Hold on.
choice. That's what
is
he's saying.
in any way legitimate. I think the elections in Venezuela have to be completely discounted. I think there has to be a separate entity that provides fair and free elections. And I think that outside of all of the opposition, all of these parties need to be younger leadership that step forward and actually take center stage if there's going to be any kind of true, um, you know, freedom in Venezuela.
Well,
So you
I
don't believe in
mean,
their elections.
like I said, what did I say before? The brainwashed nature of soldiers. It's like you just gotta go in, you gotta do the job, and when I'm there, I provide protection and freedoms. It's like, yeah, holy shit, my man. Step back
Or
for a
he
second.
believes in the cause. Yeah, he believes in the cause, and he's made a decision to make this kind of move.
Right.
Yeah, was the
He feels
brainwashing hint when he said like uh, that the U.S. doesn't like care about or they don't like their soldiers? You know,
Yeah, they
or
don't care about these guys. Like, they don't care about this guy.
he's torturing his
He's sacrificable. You could
soldiers.
sacrifice this guy.
that immediately triggered like brainwashing in my mind. Like,
I
and you're
mean,
good with that. You just accepted that you're going to do anything to tell you
I,
under that situation.
I mean, fuck Maduro, fuck Trump. This guy needs to actually rewatch this video. He needs to watch it to hear back, like, look at the levels of corruption that span from outside the government as well to these private companies. Like, look at all this shit. And you know they're doing it for resources and shit like that. Like, he's like, no one's a good guy. Like, well, then how would you let these corrupt people, these dweeby little fuckface creepers, send you somewhere where you could get killed and you could kill other people and feel shitty about it? Like,
Bro, they paid
how?
me.
How?
They paid me. And look, there was a $15 million bounty on Maduro's head. So
Then you're saying he's lying right
the
now. Then
1.5 initially, and that the Maduro bounty too. That'd been 15 million. Maybe I have to split it with some people, but you know how the cookie crumbles. They don't know how much Warren the bounty is on Maduro, so I might give them $3,000 while I take the rest.
they have Google, Dubster. They can find out. But either way, it's like,
It's not publicly known what the bounty is for Maduro.
yeah,
It is up to the administration at the moment.
Oh,
No, it isn't.
okay. They do announce a bounty prize. They do announce the numbers for these things, but maybe he changes his mind in the midst of actually.
Worse. No. For sometimes they do. Sometimes it's a secret bounty. Like, I'm only gonna tell the people that I want to do this. I'll give you a bonus, basically. Like, it wasn't an announced bounty. He was saying if I got it done, I was gonna get $15 million.
Okay, but they usually make little posters with their names, pictures, and the amount of money on it.
I don't mean that kind of bounty. I don't mean that kind of bounty.
Okay, but
He
that's
was
what they
calling it a
typically
bounty,
announce.
but that's what he meant. I know he was calling it a bounty, but it was actually a private contract.
Yes, this is with private companies. That wasn't a U.S. lawful bounty. That was the contract with global governments.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
it.
it was a hit. It was a hit, and here's your pay.
Well, it wasn't even to kill the guy, right? Because his plan had nothing to do with killing him. But either way,
Well,
either way,
getting rid of it.
either way, I don't understand how he hears all this and said, "You just gotta be a good soldier. Gotta do your soldier stuff." It's kind of crazy to me. Like, holy fuck, dude! Like, re-listen to what you were telling us about all these names you mentioned that are within Venezuela, within the U.S. government, within private giant mega companies, the CIA, all this stuff, and you're like, "Yeah, I'll just do what I gotta do." Like, yeah,
He wrecked me when he said that like that they if they didn't do it that way, then it would be an invasion. And how like so what he's doing isn't an invasion, like basically sneaking yourself in within
straight
a
up
couple people
brainwashed, bro.
within the government to overthrow it.
I don't know this
Wow.
fucking guy, but let's say we believe what he says in words, where it's actually like he has an ideological reason for why he's doing it, and he
Yeah.
believes, and like, oh, I'm helping the Venezuelan people. Like, they're the ones I care about. These governments, they suck. Which actually a lot of soldiers do believe that direction. Like, they believe the governments suck ass, but they think at the same time, oh, we're helping people when we're doing this. So yeah,
Yeah, I don't think
maybe
he's
the
doing it
president's
for that.
corrupt, but not my general, right?
He doesn't even have a choice. If he wanted to liberate people, that's not like his job is to do what they tell him, right? Like,
Yeah.
like if that's what they decide, then it's just a mission for him, right?
Yeah, but they look at it as like, we're soldiers. These guys are little pencil pushers. They look at it like that. These are little, you know, little dweeby guys, and we're
Like
we're the
getting it done.
savages that get shit done. Yeah.
hmm
But
But
he
like
has
he
to be
said
aware.
words like he dropped words like decimate the enemy. That means people use it informally now, but it does mean kill a tenth of them. Like,
Yeah.
you just
But like,
drop things like that. It doesn't sound so bad when you say it that way, right?
I mean, he's literally being prosecuted by these guys, right? And he just explained the chain of commands that can happen, right? That come from the governmental apparatus and the intelligence apparatus, right? And it trickles down to his orders in some of these cases. And he's just like, I'm trying to help the people. It's like, well, these guys are the boss is giving the orders. You just explain it to us for an hour and a half now, or an hour and fucking 20 minutes to us. You explain that. That these little corrupt fucks are trying to get you to do harmful things around the world. And then he's getting prosecuted by that same entity as well. What's the guy's name? The Eisenberg guy? It's Trump administration prosecuting him. So it's like, I'm just wowed by that. I'm wowed by that.
You're a failed asset. We need to get rid of the asset.
He needs to go to a mountain and do some ayahuasca and sit in front of monks and shit like that, bro. Because like that breaks my brain. You just explain the levels and details of corruption that come down from a chain of command of orders, and then you're also going, yeah, I'll do it though. Yeah, I'm doing the right thing. Like what? And then they're getting you in trouble for it after they gave the orders for it. Come on, my man.
Not getting it.
Do you
Not
get the
getting
sense
him
that
in
he's like
trouble.
prideful about like being able to do it? Like he was going to get it done. You know, they just got in his way.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
I know how to do these things. If somebody's going to do it, it's going to be exactly how I was doing it. Right? Like those
Right.
phrases like
Anything other than my plan is gonna fail. Basically. Oh my dear lord. Once again, we had that admiral that said, I'm not being a part of this shit. This looks all types of fishy. But it might be the same reason this guy's saying it. Like, yeah, full-scale invasion? Nah, I want nothing to do with that. I'm out of here. But if he did it tactical, like this guy's saying, maybe he would have stuck around and helped it. I'm just saying. But, alright, let's continue. Last 4 minutes. I mean, if I'm Max Blumenthal right now, my brain's a little bit broken from hearing all, like, once again, this is in the last minutes of the fucking interview. Everything else before that was just like corruption. Then he says, yeah, but I'm with it. You know, I get my orders. I'm just a good soldier. I do what I got to do. Like, holy shit,
No,
man.
he believes Venezuela is full of corruption and it needs to be
No, but
regime change.
I'm saying for Iraq though.
Democracy. They need
Iraq, Afghanistan, where he's also served in, apparently, right?
Yeah.
And he's
we won that war in 6 weeks.
Yeah,
we won Afghanistan in 6 weeks.
He just explained the
We
entire
were there
video.
for 20 years.
In the entire video, he explained how these corrupt chain of commands for the sake of what? Business and corporations and building McDonald's and fucking in Afghanistan or Baghdad somewhere, right? Like, he's just explained the corruption, but then excuses, like, shouldn't you be like, damn, I fucked up being involved in that because these guys are full of shit. And I know it now because I've seen all the documents, like direct documents about all these things. How's he?
All right, Southern Command. It's Operation Freedom.
It still beats communism.
Free the oil.
That might
Free
be
the
where
oil.
he's at. That might be where he's at.
It
It
is.
still beats communism.
We have some real estate. Can free it.
That sounds more like a job almost, but also ideological at the same time. Like, well, I'm with it, and I'm also cool with getting $10 million or some shit. Cool with that as well. But all right, let's keep playing. Once again, I'd be bewildered if I was Max. But here we go.
Freedom in Venezuela.
Well, why do you think Maria Corina Machado is not legitimate? Because she's been involved in coups and uh, potentially violent activity and has used undemocratic means to unseat the government, or is there another reason?
Correct. No, correct. And I think that when you look at Leopoldo Lopez and Juan Guaido and all of these groups, any of the opposition, Capriles, all of them, I, how do you, as a Trump administration, even if you do bring about regime change, let's say the CIA gets what they tried to get, what I got, which is access and placement at the highest levels, and somehow forcing Maduro out. Great. Then what? What's the power vacuum? How do you fill that power void? Because I'm here to tell you, if you don't, and I had planned for this, but if you don't fill that power void, then there's going to be civil war. There's going to be blood in the streets. And this is what I initially wanted to hope to avoid. Um,
No, I agree completely. I mean, they
how
would
does that
have to purge Chavismo, which means millions of people who have an organized social structure would have to be purged from society fairly violently. And these are armed. Many of them are armed for self-defense. So I don't see how you avoid an internal bloodbath or a massive migration wave if you just go ahead with an invasion. So I agree completely with you about that.
Pause when you can.
Just in
I have a
closing,
question.
what can you tell us about?
Yeah, good.
Is Chavismo like a class?
I think it's
Or was
more
that
like a
what we-
militia thing, right?
No, Chavismo is
Like a group.
that means favoring Chavez as I guess as a movement. So
Oh, okay.
so he's following Maduro's following the Chavez line. That's why he's in power.
So the party supporters.
Yes,
Okay.
parties. Yeah.
But they're a little bit, but they're not directly government. They're just people. They're militia, essentially.
Right. Well, Chavismo would be like, yeah, political support. Like you support that cause.
And they're armed.
They're-
I'd call that a militia, right?
yeah.
I
Well,
assume
yeah,
they're more than
you mentioned
armed.
the arm part.
I assume they're
You
trained
mentioned,
too. They have to be aware that someone can try to coup their fucking country. So thus, I assume they
Hold on.
have
Oh, yeah.
Let me
plans
ask
plans
this.
in
Oh, yeah.
place. Thus, they train too. I would assume. So it's kind of like but it's I get what you're saying, like kind of a political group or party.
Let me
right?
ask this.
Yeah, the word
you're-
Chavismo would be like favoring the
If
Chavez
you're
movement.
not a Chavismo, are you not armed?
I don't know.
I assume there's plenty of people just regularly like armed in the country. That is most likely. But I assume it would be more so like, once again, if you do it the way this guy was saying, where you have generals in place that are ready to turn on Maduro, and they turn on him and they assume control of the military. Now it's just a regular military versus these Maduro and Chavez like loyalists, right? Who are ready for days like this to happen. Let's be honest. But I'd wonder, man, if they have a full scale invasion type of thing. What if they all turn towards whoever, U.S. soldiers, mercenary groups, whoever, and say, "Yo, we can't have these guys here, though," and they all, like the Chavismo and the regular Venezuelan military, just turn and aim at the fucking, whoever's trying to like overthrow the country right there. I'm just saying.
If we invade, it's war. It's America versus Venezuela.
Yes, but I'm just saying.
That's what he's saying.
It
He
changes
doesn't
the
want.
dynamic. It just changes the dynamic. We might eventually get to a point where we have a police if we win the initial battles or whatnot, and then we have to police them back to being civil, like we did in Afghanistan and Iraq.
What, being
We may
civil?
create a police
Is-
force.
Is that what they're being
Yeah.
accused of, not being civil?
They're saying once these things go down, there's a good chance people won't be civil. And that just makes
Like,
sense, right? They're being
what
invaded.
was it called? Yeah. Once you invade a country, you need to establish a police force
And I think
because, yeah,
I think one of the things which would look more likely like the actual plan they would do is more of like a Libya looking thing, where they just bomb the leadership. No one else, just the leadership. And once that leadership's gone, Now that's civil war in the streets for like who's gonna run the country now. There's gonna be someone that they're gonna be people that keep like, hey, you guys were loyal to the U.S. that killed our president, and you have other people that are loyal to Maduro, right? And that creates that power vacuum. Or maybe they force these guys to flee because they're gonna bomb it, and thus leaves that power vacuum there with no real contingency in
There'd
place.
be point. There'd be pointing in the streets too, of like you're be like ratting him out kind of thing. That's a Chabismo over there. Go arrest him.
Oh, you have to. What he's saying is you have to have guys in place in higher positions that can just run the country while you're waiting to actually have an election and thus officially replace the Maduro government or whatever. But if you don't have that there and you just take out the leadership, what happens after that? Probably chaos, right?
Every regime change we've done that was afterwards a democracy was not really a democracy. It was who we chose.
Yeah, basically. And for some reason, this guy doesn't recognize that with his own plan. Well, I guess he did recognize that to some degree, but either way, okay, let's continue here. Here we go.
Completely with you about that. Just in closing, what can you tell us about your prosecution and upcoming trial?
Well, listen, I would love to be able to get to trial. That would be amazing.
Yeah. What's happening instead?
It is lawfare. I mean, for an administration that's kind of hell bent on. Hold on a sec, Max. This thing's kind of acting. Sorry. Oh, wait. I have to try. There we go. Sorry. Yeah. So for an administration that is, ran on the fact that we're going to fight lawfare and we're going to go after weaponization of the federal government, seems like I'm being weaponized against pretty heavily. This is a political prosecution. It's pretty obvious. I think that like I said, I would love to get to trial. That would be amazing if I could be, stay on the outside and be able to strategize with my lawyers. But the reality is, the prosecutors are working incredibly hard and to put me back in jail, and they want me behind bars so that I don't get access to classified information. There's a ton of it. Obviously, if they put me in jail right now, it would be me fighting to get classified information for years and years and years, forcing myself to stay in jail. So I'd rather stay out of jail and just force them to give me classified information, which it's taken, I don't know, over a year to get just discovery that is not classified. So there is obvious government involvement here, and I don't know. Let's see your cards. I'm ready to go to trial.
Well, we will definitely be following up with you, and particularly if you go to trial and manage to obtain classified info, which will presumably corroborate and confirm many of the claims you've made to me about high-level Trump administration and U.S. intelligence involvement in this plot. Is there anything else you want to add before we close?
Yeah, I think that I don't really have to tell you about it, Max. It's in the discovery. You can read about it.
Well, we'll be publishing that discovery at the Grayzone and featuring it right here. So Jordan Goudreau, former Green Beret and the face of Operation Gideon, thanks so much for joining us at the Grayzone.
Okay.
Is he the guy who got caught?
Yes.
Like,
yes. Because I remember this.
Trying to kill him? Oh, okay.
I remember this name from back when those fucking dudes were caught trying to like infiltrate Venezuela or whatever the fuck they're doing. Yeah, this is a crazy fucking story. Probably one of the most interesting stories I've heard in a long time, especially with the amount of detail that's behind it. And I mean, once again, for political arguments, for anyone in the Discord or anyone listening on onto the video, I mean, the amount of information that showcases the levels of corruption that are there, and he touched every level basically, from the White House to the fucking intelligence agencies to private corporations and people that run private corporations, all that stuff. It's just there, and I think a valuable piece of information, a valuable amounts of information to use in discussion with other people that just like, hey, trust the plan, man. Trump's a good guy. Trump wants freedom. Trump's ending wars, on and so forth. I mean, this shit is like a fucking layup. AOC, Bernie, where the fuck you at? Huh? I mean, it's all right here. But of course, I doubt we'll hear anything from them. I doubt it. And also for commentator people, right? Content creators. Alex Jones. Right in your fucking wheelhouse, isn't it? I mean, the private company is actually called Global Governments. It's like made for Alex Jones to cover and rant about. Is it not?
Right.
In fact, when I'm done with this
What do they
video,
call
I'm going to
those,
go look up Alex Jones and see if he even looked at this stuff. He had Max on his show before, right? On InfoWars. So Alex should find that, like someone on his team or Alex himself should find this video and look all into it. But something tells me that could be doubtful. Go ahead, Dubster, before I end the video.
What's the term for all those companies that George Soros owns that operate internationally in somethings or whatever?
NGOs?
NGOs.
Yeah.
That's the way I think of this global governments. It's an NGO equivalently.
Yeah.
Might not be, but it sure sounds like one.
And the Kraft family is notoriously close to Trump himself. I believe this involves Robert Kraft. He was or is the owner of the Patriots. He was in the Epstein files, right? Was he in the Epstein files? I think he was. Or he got caught in something else separately, where something with like a masseuse.
Masseuse. Oh, there was a big arrest down in Florida for some masseuses last week.
Okay.
You got bailed out?
That was what the Patriot owner or Patriot coach or whatever it was
He was
got in
he's
trouble
owner.
for. It was a happy ending. Got a happy ending down in Florida.
Yeah. And these guys are close to Trump and his family as far as like business and in government. So this looks like what it looks like. But either way, I'm very curious what Alex is saying at all about anything right now. I'd be like, how are you not covering this one? But either way, I'll leave it there. There's your video. Please subscribe if you feel like. Comment, agree, disagree. Tell me what you think in the comment section. There's a lot here. If you have other information or other things I could add to the story, please go ahead, tell me about it. Or if you disagree somehow, go ahead, do that for whatever reason. Don't forget to share, support, hopefully donate to all the links in the description box. Also, check out the Discord link if you want to join that. We are in that Discord right now. If you missed this, I almost say just go watch. I'll link the video in the description box. Just go watch it. You don't need us commentating over it, but if you want to, go ahead. But I'm telling you, this is an extremely fascinating video and interview. So please take advantage of the links in the description box, as well as the Discord, and obviously charity donations if you want to do that. And yeah, with all that said, give this video a thumbs down.